Bankston, will you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This afternoon, Council is excited to have our friend Pastor Amy Aspey of the Short North Church to pray with us this evening. Welcome back to Council, Pastor.
Let us pray. God of us all, and not just some. As we begin, we pause to center ourselves in gratitude for the diverse expressions of your love that are celebrated in this season of peace, light, generosity, and compassion. We also pause to bring the most vulnerable to the center of our minds and hearts. Those for whom dropping temperatures are metrics of life and death. Those who are afraid to authentically exist. Those who do not have access to what they need in order to flourish. Those who do not have the privilege of planning beyond the present moment. Keep our eyes open to how our decisions can protect dignity, lessen burdens, and build a more equitable future. Help us to create a culture of peace in a violence-weary world. And as this meeting adjourns and council goes into a time of break, may those who serve enjoy the gifts of rest, delight, and community, and return strengthened for the work before us in the new year. In the name of all that is holy, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Happy holidays. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Faber-Remy, President Harden. Any person who takes any actions to obstruct or interfere with the conduct of tonight's meeting may be charged with disturbing a lawful meeting pursuant to Columbus City Code 2317.12. Any person who enters those areas of City Council chambers reserved for city officials or invited guests may be charged with criminal trespass pursuant to Columbus City Code 2311.21.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Is there a second? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Faber-Remy, President Harden.
Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing none, the journal is approved. This week's communication received by the City Clerk's Office are listed on the agenda and will be published in the City Bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
Not at this time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will go around the dais for announcements and celebrations. We'll start with Councilmember Bankston.
Nothing for you, Councilman Bankston? Great. Thank you. I know, you're so excited. I have two quick announcements and then one celebratory resolution. So first, I would like to thank the Department of Neighborhoods for hosting the MLK Oratorical Contest this past Saturday. I was so honored to be a judge. We had a number of students who came to give their thoughts about the future related to the statewide theme, the dream deferred, where do we go from here? So we were able to send 9 of our Columbus, not just Columbus City School students, but students who live in Columbus proper, to the state contest. And we have performances from 2 of our high school students that will be performed at the MLK Day breakfast and at our celebration in January. So I just want to give a shout out to the department and a shout out to our students who represented us very, very well. And I will say that the future is very bright, thanks to all of them. I also wanted to take a moment, Councilmember Favor has been giving us updates on Colonial Village, and we've been working with the Department of Neighborhoods in how we support the Haitian community that is at Colonial Village. And there's an organization called the Haitian Community Network who has been at the heart of the response to residents as the sole organized organization that is Haitian that is working with them. So I wanted to hand the floor over to Director William Scott to talk a little bit about Haitian Community Network's work and how we'll be supporting them throughout this season.
Thank you, Councilmember Barosa de Padilla, President Harden, members of council. Yes, we will be working with Haitian Community Network, affectionately known as HACANet. And they will be assisting us with the residents in Colonial Village. They will be assisting us with ESL programming, interpreters, town hall meetings, and an opportunity to be able to best communicate and ensure that the needs of those residents are being met. And we will be working with them through the early part of 2024, and then determine how much longer it takes us to help continue to assist the residents in Colonial Village.
So thank you, Director. And I just wanted to highlight this particular organization's work because they are a grassroots organization. They've been steadily growing, and they were right at the heart of the response to the community during this time. And they were doing this voluntarily. And it's an all-volunteer organization. And so this support that the city is giving them is going to be huge in terms of the next wave of the long game of helping the residents that are there at Colonial Village. So thank you, Director. And without further ado, I would like to present Resolution 0248X 2023 to recognize and honor the Columbus Crew on winning their third MLS Cup. And so we have some folks from the crew. So I'll give a very short preamble because y'all don't want to hear from me. But if you remember last week, we congratulated our Eastern Conference champions, the Columbus Crew. And this week, we are excited to congratulate the 2023 MLS Cup winners, our very own Columbus Crew, back to council. This past Saturday, the lower.com field set an attendance record for the MLS Cup with over 20,000 people in attendance. It was an all-time high for lower.com field. I was very excited. I was there with my daughter. I'm the best mom in the world. That's going to last for like 2 weeks at least. We are so proud that Columbus is home not only to the 2023 champions, but also home to MLS's two biggest events in 1 year's time. So the MLS Cup, which we just hosted, and in 2024, the All-Star Game in July. So we're very excited to welcome the President and General Manager, I knew I was going to mess this up, Bezbacheco.
Nailed it.
So, oh, look at that. So I give the floor to you, sir.
Thank you. And you should last more than 2 weeks, the grace period.
I hope so.
Good evening. Thank you to Council President Hardin and Councilmember Barroso de Padilla and all the esteemed members of City Council. We are dedicated to representing Columbus, our rightful home, and we appreciate your shared commitment to its well-being now and for future generations. Soccer is a global sport. While it is called a beautiful game for many reasons, there is true beauty and power in its ability to unite diverse communities and inspire future generations to achieve excellence on and off the pitch, including through the crew's year-long efforts toward advancing education and youth soccer in our region. This was on full display during Saturday night's MLS Cup final at lower.com field, where we hosted a record crowd of 20,802 fans during our 2-1 victory against LAFC. Backed by the Nordeca and Crew supporters who have consistently energized our players throughout the 2023 season, we lifted our club's third MLS Cup in the second in 4 seasons. It's an honor to stand here today as MLS Cup champions, and we share this incredible moment with our fans and our city who helped make this possible. Growing up just miles from here in Westerville, I know that Columbus is truly a soccer town. This trophy represents that passion, a massive one that resulted in our club continuing to have the opportunity to proudly showcase Columbus on our kits and on our crest when home and away, thanks to the Haslam, Johnson, and Edwards families, our supporters, government officials, corporate leaders, and of course our supporters. Our goal has always been to win championships for Columbus, create memories for our fans, and to serve as leaders in the community, which we had the ability to spotlight throughout the week of MLS Cup. We will consistently strive to win more championships, foster fantastic experiences for our supporters, and to advance our great home of Columbus, including through events like the 2024 All-Star Game at lower.com field. Fortunately, the offseason is short, and we are excited to welcome everyone back to our downtown fortress soon. But first, we can cherish this achievement together during tomorrow's parade and rally at Lower.com Field. Thank you again, and glory to Columbus.
Woohoo, glory to Columbus indeed. And I'm a girl that likes a parade, so I'm very excited about the parade tomorrow. I want to open it up for my colleagues for any questions, comments, good wishes.
Make no mistake about it, this is a soccer town. 5 years ago tonight, I was proud to vote to help save the crew and announce an historic deal down by Huntington Field. And there's no greater glory than to see 2 cups, not just one, but 2, and especially one now with that stadium. Tim, I appreciate you, a DeSales grad, a local guy, made good, and all the commitment that the Columbus crew has made to this community, to our students at Columbus City Schools, and what you do throughout the community is nothing short of remarkable. It's exciting, and I am pumped that you guys are world champs, or are world champs anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember.
I was, Tim, just picking up off of what Councilman Marini was saying. I kept on thinking on Saturday, we weren't even supposed to be here. You think about a crazy season, we had changes and stuff. Folks are talking kind of crazy about our team. But really, if you think back to that 5 years ago, where we really were not supposed to be here, and this community came together to fight for this team and fight for this moment. And it's so sweet. It is so sweet to be here. And like I said, not just do it once, but do it twice. And to really to bring the eyes of the world, because to your point, soccer is a global sport, to this community is just something that I hope we all come out tomorrow to that parade and we feel that energy as we celebrate our hometown team. So go crew, glory to Columbus. Congratulations, Tim, and the team.
Thank you all. Really appreciate it.
Lastly, I just want to say, as a mom who has literally spent like a decade, and it's not going to stop, on a soccer field, one of the things I loved most was watching the faces of our young people, young soccer players, young soccer lovers from literally every walk of life, just so elated and so happy, and seeing their heroes out on the field. And I've had the opportunity to stand with crew players at some of the schools as they do rallies when kids are coming into the school. So it's so much more. Sports is so much more than just a game, right? It's about how it brings people together, brings community together, to celebrate, to have pride, to have joy. And so thank you for giving that to our community. And that's what this effort is really all about, and that's why we're all in together. So with that, I move for adoption.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Congratulations.
Tim, I thought you were leaving that for us.
Thank you, Council President. That's all for me.
Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Council President. This evening, I do have one resolution. Director Reese. And this resolution is to recognize and celebrate the Columbus Recreation and Parks Department's accreditation from the National Park and Recreation Accreditation Association for accreditation of park and recreational agencies. The National Park and Recreational Association Commission for the Accreditation of Park and Recreation Agencies delivers quality assurance and improvement to accredited park and recreation departments throughout the United States by helping them build a comprehensive management system of operational and best practices. CAPR is the only national accreditation of park and recreation departments, is valued measure of department's ability to overall operate and provide quality management and service to the community. Achieving CAPR accreditation demonstrates the department and its staff provide the community with the highest level of service. The agencies are reaccredited every 5 years and ensuring a long-term commitment to excellence. Only 6% of the agencies have earned accreditation, placing Columbus Recreation and Parks in an elite group. Recreation and Park Services enhances the quality of life in our community, and this honor recognizes the hard work and dedication of our staff who come in every day and give their best to serve the residents of Columbus. The staff is among the best in the industry. And to note, take apart from the prepared statements, the gentleman who was just here from the Columbus crew, they spend their time with our Recreation and Parks Division and work with us collectively, just to show you the example of the relationship that we have. On behalf of the council, my council colleagues, I'd like to thank the staff of the Recreation and Parks Department under the leadership of Director Reese for their efforts in obtaining Columbus Recreation and Parks Department's accreditation from the National Park and Recreation Association's Commission for the Accreditation of Park and Recreation Agencies, and express my gratitude to all CPR staff for their outstanding service. And with that, I'll turn it over to Director Reese.
Thank you, Chair Brown, President Harden, and to the other council members. As it's been stated, this is elite group, 6% throughout the country that we are within. And so with that said, we were honored in Dallas, Texas in October for our accreditation process, 154 standards that we had to meet. That really document our policies and procedures that we do within our department. There are 206 agencies throughout the country and only 10 in Ohio. So when you start to think about the number of recreation departments, just not within the state, but just in the metro area of Columbus, 10 within the city, I would say within the state. Sorry about that. This couldn't have been done without our staff. An excellent team of individuals, people that work hard, come to work, they're dedicated, show their support. This is a 3-year process, a 2 to 3 year process, and we did it in 1.5 years. And so I say thank you to the staff, my hat's off to the team, and to every individual within the Department of Recreation and Parks. Thank you, Chair Brown.
Thank you, Director Reese. Are there any comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for adoption.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopted.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Councilmember. President Pro Tem.
Thank you, Council President. I do have a couple resolutions this evening. First is Resolution 0243X-2023 to celebrate the second year anniversary of Opportunity Ports. At this time, I want to invite Administrative Director Yana I'm going to screw it up. Come on up. Come on. Herdinova and Project Manager Hannah Miller, who is a former staffer here at Columbus City Council, the podium. They both are representatives of the Drug Enforcement Policy Center, Ohio State Moritz College of Law. As many folks are aware, Opportunity Port is a record sealing and expungement application assistance program that began right here at Columbus City Council as a criminal justice initiative that is now managed by the Ohio State University Drug Enforcement Policy Center, aimed at removing barriers to record relief and improving opportunities for justice-involved residents of Columbus. An estimated 1 in 3 Ohio residents have a criminal record, and the collateral consequences stemming from criminal records present significant economic and social barriers to resources, opportunities such as housing, employment, education, and professional licensing. Unfortunately, the data also shows that people of color are disproportionately impacted by criminal records as a result of systemic racism, the consequences of which contribute significantly to racial inequality here in Columbus and across the country. Research has shown that record sealing improves earnings and lowers chance of rearrest. Opportunity Port's legal service providers are the Drug Enforcement Policy Center, the Legal Aid Society of Columbus, Equality Ohio, and the Franklin County Municipal Court Self-Help Center, who together over the past 2 years have assisted over 500 Columbus residents with completing and filing record sealing and expungement applications here in Franklin County. Opportunity Port continues to build on its successes and recently launched its services statewide to provide record sealing and expungement application assistance to all just-involved residents of Ohio who are seeking relief from a past mistake. With that, we'd like to turn the floor over to our representatives from the Ohio State University.
Thank you. President Harden, President Pro Tem Dorans, and members of council. My name is Yana Hrdinova, and I'm the Administrative Director of the Drug Enforcement and Policy Center, at The Ohio State University Moritz College of Law. The center's work aims to shape and enrich public conversation at the intersection of criminal justice and drug policy, with a particular focus on marijuana laws and reform efforts. In addition to our research and policy work, the center manages 2 record relief service engagement projects, the Ohio Governor Expedited Pardon Project and the Record Sealing and Expungement Program Opportunity Port. As Administrative Director, part of my role is to provide guidance and support to Hannah Miller, who serves as a Program Manager for Opportunity Port and who has done a wonderful job organizing stakeholders, coordinating resources, and bringing this program to fruition. December 1 marked the 2-year operations, and as of today, Opportunity Port services are available to all Ohio residents with criminal records in the state of Ohio. In a moment, Hannah will speak in more detail about Opportunity Port and the Columbus residents the program has served in the last 2 years. But first, I want to take a few minutes to talk about criminal records more generally. In the state of Ohio, a person's criminal record is not made up only of convictions, but it also includes a record of any arrests, any cases that were dismissed, as well as cases where a person might have been found innocent. All these interactions with the criminal justice system will appear on a background check indefinitely unless a person files a petition to have them sealed or expunged. And unfortunately for our clients, your average landlord or human resource specialist won't be able to tell the difference between a mere arrest or conviction. So what does the landscape of criminal records look like in Columbus? Thanks to the same funding that supports Opportunity Port's service operations, the center was able to collect and analyze Franklin County municipal court cases between 2001 and 2021. We looked at who is getting arrested in our community, why are they getting arrested, and what were the outcomes of these arrests. Here's what we learned. Roughly 20% of adults living in Columbus have been charged with a criminal offense. Roughly 14% of adults living in Columbus have had a charge dismissed. But these numbers change significantly when you break them down by race and gender. 55% of Black men in Columbus have been charged with a misdemeanor offense, and 43% of Black men in Columbus have had at least one charge dismissed. In other words, having a criminal record is prevalent among Columbus adult population, and even more so among our Black residents. The ability to seal these records, or better yet, expunge them, could have a significant impact on the quality of life of these individuals, as well as their families and communities. Opportunity Port was designed for this. Before I hand things over to Hannah, I want to thank Columbus City Council for its continued support of Opportunity Port, and to President Pro Tem Dorrance for giving us the chance to share our work with you all. We look forward to serving the residents of Columbus for a third year and to bringing these services to the rest of the state. Thank you.
As a council staff alum, I know how long the last meeting of the year, so I will try to be brief or speak very quickly. I'd be remiss if I did not first thank the other Columbus organizations that, along with the Drug Enforcement and Policy Center, provide record sealing and expungement application assistance to Columbus residents through Opportunity Port, Legal Aid Society of Columbus, Equality Ohio, and the Franklin County Municipal Court Self-Help Center. Without their partnership, we would not be where we are today. Some quick stats about the program, and I hope that Yana's remarks did not go over your head when she said nearly 50% of Black men in Columbus have been charged with a misdemeanor. So I just want to let you know that those demographics are reflected in the population that we're serving, in that so far we've assisted 527 people with applications to seal or expunge criminal records. That could be at both municipal and common pleas or just one of those courts, but more often than not, it's at both courts. An additional 164 people connected with legal help through Opportunity Port, but were not eligible for sealing or expungement at time of service, but were given advice on what to do next given their circumstances. Applications can have multiple cases on them, so we've prepared applications for the sealing or expungement of roughly 4,000 cases. We're assisting people from all over Columbus, but the majority of people live in areas of North and South Linden, South Side, Franklinton, Hilltop, and Eastland. For someone to receive service through Opportunity Port, they have to complete the online survey found on the website. In that survey, we include some optional questions. What has motivated you to apply for record sealing or expungement? And then we ask a more open-ended question, In your own words, how has a criminal record impacted your life? So to end my remarks, I want to take the opportunity to center the people we are striving to serve and share some of their testimonies. I have not been able to find employment for 8 months. I am now facing eviction and losing everything. It is extremely hard to survive. I would like a clean slate to be able to provide a better and safer living environment for my children. I feel I have been stripped of my rights as a citizen. I'm looked down on by society. I'm embarrassed to tell my grandchildren. I'm a recovering addict. My record has kept me from being able to create the life I want for my kids. It's hard living in poverty because drugs and misery are all around us. I'm unable to advance at work because of the felony record. I'm also unable to volunteer with the local high school. It affects my confidence daily. No matter how good I'm doing, I can always be reminded quickly of my past. I cannot work with the degree that I got from college. My criminal life has impacted me because I can't be happy knowing I'm not free. I feel as if I'm not free. I have a 6-month-old baby who I just want to see me being happy. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. It's an honor. I look forward to continuing this important work.
Thank you both, Hannah and Yana, for all your important work. It is incredible to hear that testimony, think about how this is impacting people on a daily basis. And I was looking through my photos, and I sent this to Hannah the other day of when her and I were on the second floor of this building and sort of whiteboarded out what we thought we could do with something like this. And to see from that crazy, insane ranting and ravings on a whiteboard to hearing that kind of thing, that testimony here today, just thank you to both of you and certainly Ohio State for taking this up. This was something that was born from City Council, but it needed to go somewhere else to live to have the impact it's having on people's lives. And I'm so proud of you both for making sure that reality is being changed for so many members of our community. So with that, I move for adoption.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Thank you, Council President. I do have one more resolution that I'd like to introduce from the floor. That is Resolution 0247X-2023 to recognize and celebrate Ken Paul and his contributions to the City of Columbus. We got you, Ken. This resolution is honoring the service of Chief of Staff Ken Paul, who has been involved in state and local government here in Central Ohio after he moved to the City of Columbus in 1999 to serve as a legislative aide to State Senator Mark Mallory. Ken is a proud graduate of Ohio University, go Bobcats, with a degree in political science and later earned his MBA from Franklin University. A graduate of Leadership Columbus class of 2008 and named 40 under 40 class of 2016 by Columbus Business First. Ken has served as a leader here in City Hall since 2007, when he began his work to then City Council President Andrew J. Ginther. On November 2018, Ken was appointed Chief of Staff by Mayor Ginther, taking on the enormous task of leading day-to-day operations of the Office of Mayor, running the Mayor's Cabinet, and overseeing the city's operating and capital budgets, and having to deal with the Council's shenanigans here from time to time, put politely. Ken has helped to craft the Mayor's equity agenda and many programs to lift up residents and build more resilient city and help to calmly guide the city's response to a global pandemic and national reckoning over racism and community police relations. While Ken's many roles and service on boards and commissions are often not in the civic spotlight, he's been able to make a deep impact through his thoughtful patient management, including running a city with nearly 9,000 employees, over 224 square miles, with billions of dollars spent annually on infrastructure and neighborhood services. In these roles, we must applaud his efforts to advance historic police reforms, including amending the city's charter to establish the Civilian Review Board and Inspector General. It's also worth noting, and I think this is incredibly important when we talk about how much Columbus has changed. Columbus became America's 14th largest city during Ken's service here in City Hall. I think I speak for most folks in this building that you'll be missed by so many folks here in this building. However, he's certainly not going away from public service as he'll take over the Franklin County Convention Facility Authority. just Ken, congratulations on so many years of service to our residents to make the kind of impact you did. There are very, very few people that have been around these halls for as long as you have that have made the impact in so many ways that you have. And because these things turn into a roast as well, I was recently told that even after you became chief of staff, you stayed watching every single city council meeting during your tenure in the mayor's office. Is that true?
Not everyone, a whole lot of them.
Well, I am hopeful that you and your family get Monday nights back, even though that was, who knows whether that was part of the plan or not here. But Ken, seriously, congratulations on everything, all the lives you've touched in Columbus, and certainly want to pause and see if there's any comments from any of my colleagues. Thank you. Councilman Remy?
Well, Ken, it's been a pleasure. I remember coming to see you as a young neighborhood leader back there with President Ginther as council president, and you've served this community very well. It's been a pleasure working with you, and the collaboration and cooperation that we've had over the years has been really exceptional. So I appreciate all that you've done. Look forward to working with you in your next role, but certainly want to applaud you at this moment. Congratulations. You look a little bit more relaxed than you have in the past. So I'm sure you're excited for the next adventure. And so enjoy the holidays with the family and a couple weeks off. Thank you.
To my friend, Chief, excited for your next. And like has been mentioned here, you really dedicated your life to public service. And as someone who also prides myself on that, I've always looked to you as an example, as someone who leads with their heart and gives 100%. And as you know, we've been on the campaign trail together, in the mayor's office together, in many different places, and have grown really together. And so just want to say that I appreciate your sacrifice because it is hard to sit in the seats that you have sat in, to make the decision that you have made. But I hope that you can say, and I know that the people of Columbus can say, that when we look back at it, the years, when the hard decisions were made, they were the right decisions for the city of 2050. And that's what we are all here to doing today. And so thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for your friendship. And I have your cell phone number, so I'll still call you. Congratulations.
Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Councilman Dorns. Mr. Ken Paul, how far back do we go? When you first started here in City Hall, when I was the director, and the relationship that we developed between you and I and the council member go back that far. We suffered through some good and some difficult times. But the one thing that was always present, that you would be willing to listen and understand the changes and things that were going on. You look at the fact that Councilmember Dorn's comments about us becoming the 14th largest city in the United States, how special that was. That comes from working together. That comes from listening and rather than telling people how to do things. And that was always our relationship. You'll be missed, Ken. So thank you very much for all the hard work and the time you've given to this city. It is truly appreciated.
I just sum up what my colleagues have said. We've had the opportunity in the last 6 years that I've been council president to work even closer together. So one, thank you for being Mike Brown whisperer. I come call Ken Paul sometimes first just to talk Mike Brown down sometimes. But to what Nick was saying, there may not be another role like the chief of staff to the mayor of this large of a city in a community. What folks don't know always is that we as the principal don't always get the first call. We usually don't. It's someone like yourself, the chief of staff, who in the middle of the night has to answer those most difficult phone calls and then decide if you move to the principal. The fact that you have been that for the mayor for so many years is just something that I'm grateful for. Your service to him is a service to the 915,000 people that call the city home. And it's a thankless job. It's a heavy job. And so on behalf of a grateful community, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for your family to get you back a little bit more than probably they've had you over the last several years. But again, I say this every time one of us leaves, in this day and age, public service is frowned upon. There's just so much distrust in institutions. And I push back on that so hard because I've had the opportunity to work with 9,000 amazing public servants who are the most exemplary, who care so much about other people. And you are one of those. You are the leader of those 9,000. And so I'm grateful for you, man. Look forward to working with you next. God bless.
Well, before we send you down the street to manage, dance competitions and comic book conventions and beer fests, all during the same weekend, which again, your history working with elected officials, I think you'll be well adept to managing all those kinds of things. Ken, I want to give you the floor for certainly not the last time here in this chamber, but certainly as this chapter comes to a close, and wanted to allow you an opportunity, even though we've hopefully surprised you to some degree with this, an opportunity to make any remarks.
Thank you, Council President Hart and Councilmember Dorrance. Thank you very much. It was a surprise, unexpected, and part of me wonders whether it's really deserved, but I'm humbled and grateful. This room is very special to me. 17 years ago, just about, I started my career with the City of Columbus right here in these chambers. I have an incredible amount of respect for the institution, but each one of you as members of council, Council President Hardin, yes, it's all about public service. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have served with the mayor, but alongside all of you, and incredibly grateful for all the folks that are behind me in the chairs who really are here every Monday night and doing the hard work and delivering critical city services and really changing the lives of Columbus residents. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have served here, grateful for the opportunities that lie ahead, incredibly grateful to our mayor for having the opportunity. But Councilmember, you mentioned my family. It's funny, Angie, who's watching at home, because I texted her, really responding to her text, which was, "Are you going to be late tonight?" I'm incredibly grateful to Angie, my entire family, Kennedy, who may be watching or not, but for their support. It's meant the world, and it's been an incredible opportunity. I look forward to many more years of service, I hope, and I remain at your service. If there's anything I can ever do to help any one of you, this city, this institution, I'll be there. Count me in, and thank you again.
Well, thank you, Ken. And to that point, we know how important the Convention Authority is to the growth of the city. And I think we're all thankful that someone that has your perspective from this place is going to be helping to lead that organization in the future. So with that, I'd like to move for adoption.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorrance, favor, Remy, President Hardin.
That is all I have at this time, Council President.
Thank you, Press Pro Tem. Councilmember Favor.
Thank you, Council President Hardin. It's now my honor to bring up another living legend. If I could invite Shelley Fisher to the podium. I will be presenting tonight Resolution 0242X-2023 to celebrate the work of Shelley Fisher and recognize her contributions to the City of Columbus. Shelley Fisher is the owner and lead photographer of Shelley Fisher Photography and Design, a company she founded in January 2008. She has focused her work on capturing the essence of a situation, the emotions of people, and telling its story. Since founding her company, she has built a clientele that includes the City of Columbus, Huntington Bank, L Brands, Cardinal Health, Macy's, Nationwide Insurance, The Ohio State University, PNC Bank, among many more. Shelley Fisher Photography and Design is certified as a minority business enterprise with the Ohio Minority Supplier Development Council, State of Ohio, City of Columbus, and certified as Women Business Enterprise certified by the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. Shelley Fisher Photography and Design has been recognized numerous times for its stellar work, including being named as a 2017 Small Business Administration's Home-Based Business of the Year and as 2016 Women Business Enterprise Supplier of the Year by the Ohio River Valley Women Business Council. So the reason why we are bestowing this resolution on Ms. Shelley is because she has decided to leave Columbus, Ohio, to be with her family out west. And much to our opposition, she has voted no on our pushback, but we want to ensure that she knows that she always has a home in Columbus, Ohio, and that this council loves and appreciates the work that she has done and the contributions that she has provided to the city of Columbus. With that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Shelley.
Well, thank you. I've been working on not crying because this is a bittersweet situation. The closer I get, I'm getting more excited, especially when I see my grandkids and they say, "Grandma, are you on a plane?" I said, "No, not yet." Full disclosure, the moving company just left my house about an hour and a half ago, so it's all packed up and it is real. But I love Columbus, Ohio, so don't get it twisted. I'm going out to California for love. I'm not going out to California because, the weather, nothing like this, because I love the cold weather. Fall and winter is my favorite. But I tell you, the city of Columbus is like Mayor Michael Coleman said way back in the day, it is the best place to live, work, raise a family, and also have a business. And I've been very fortunate to work with the city from way back when, and now with our current mayor, Mayor Ginther. I mean, I just love this city and everything we do, and because I've been very fortunate to photograph many city departments that I appreciate, I'm kind of scared to mention them because I don't want to forget anyone, like, Celebrate One in neighborhoods and ODI and the mayor's department. But I see all the wonderful things we do and the money we spend to help people live the best life ever. So I'm really scared to leave Columbus because I think I'm in a nice sweet spot here, especially down in the Bronzeville, King Lincoln district, which is growing beautifully. And so I thank you all for participating, but you all have always been wonderful to me, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate that you appreciate me. Thank you very much.
With that, I'll open up to my colleagues for any comments. Yes, Councilmember Remy.
Well, I, for one, I'm going to miss seeing you at the Heritage Festival every week.
Oh, yeah, that's
because
fun.
That's always an entertaining conversation. But I wish you the very best, and I know what it's like to be around family, but the door is always open to come back here because we love you and we love the work that you do. You have done a great job capturing exactly the essence of what we do down here in many different realms throughout the city. And so we thank you for the contributions that you gave through your lens to this city and to our city. And so wishing you all the best and happy holidays to you and your family. Thanks, Shelley.
Councilmember Barosa de Padilla.
So I was a YP then, when I first moved back to Columbus, is I think the first time that we had the opportunity to meet and work together. And this is how you know when you have a relationship, especially with a photographer who sees you, because you know how I smile, how to stand, and you remember that about people. And that's a special gift. Right? That when you show up, you really try to bring out the best in people. And no matter what industry you're in, when you can show that kind of compassion and you capture these moments where you can help people feel their best, where you can capture an event and a conversation or this moment in time, photographers really are magicians in that way, right? That you see people that you know the exact moment to capture. And not only that, but the way that you have given back to the community. I think about your house. There's a beautiful mural in front of your house that you painted to add beauty even to the neighborhood, that you passed on your business to other young Black women to take on the business. I just think that you are such an example of the goodness of our people and the best of us, and you always have a home here. So if California does not work out, ma'am, please come back, because we will miss you.
On my home, so I am still paying city taxes.
Well, there you go. Thank you for that, too.
Yeah.
But yes, you always have a home here, and we look forward to the times that you come back and visit. But thank you so much for all of your contributions, Shelley. We love you.
Councilmember Bankston.
And I'll be brief, and I'll speak on behalf of the auditor and myself as Chair of Economic Development. We appreciate your income, your property taxes. Let me just say thank you for your service to this community and for always making me look good. But I just want to lift up this because it's inscribed on the walls down on City Hall, and it embodies the work that you have captured and what you have done. On the walls in City Hall downstairs, it says that the soul of a city is the spirit of its people. And you have not just captured pictures, but you have captured the soul of this city. That is the work that you have done. And so whether you're in California, whether it's 10 years from now, decades from now, you are a part of the legacy and the history of this community. And thank you for that.
Thank you, Nick.
Well, oh, yes, Councilmember Brown.
Well, Shelley knows I can't let her go without commenting. She made reference to the fact of Mayor Coleman, and we go back that far, Shelley, even before that, as you well remember. Again, your work is spectacular. I have some of the material I have at home. As you know, some of those other things I've shared with you with regards to photography from some old photographers that I know. Shell, one of the best. That's all I can say. And thank you.
Thank you.
Council President.
All I would just say is, because everything's been said, thank you, Ms. Shelley. Safe travels, and that I'm proud of you, and I think you're a great example because everybody doesn't take the big jump when you have so much going good right in front of you to think that, no, I can do something different, and I can go explore and do that for a family. There's nothing better. So excited, and thank you for the example that you're setting and have continually set for our community. God bless.
Thank you very much. I love you all, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
So many people think that, Miss Linda is our boss, and Miss Linda is absolutely our boss. Let's be clear about that. Right up under Miss Linda falls Miss Shelley. So if anyone is confused, and I don't know if I have the ability to tell this story, but I'm going to tell it since Ron Dorrance isn't going to tell it. There's never been a moment when we haven't captured photos over the last 4 years now, just to memorialize the new members. And I will never forget the hilarious times, 10 toes down, Miss Shelley referring to Rob Dorrance as Ron Dorrance. And it just brings the laughter into the space. And that's exactly what you do. You have the ability to bring joy out in folks, especially in moments of uncomfortability when they're taking photos, and that joy has to come out in that photograph. And the best way that you can do that is to infuse some laughter into the space, and you've done that over and over again, whether you're shooting us as a collective or you're working with us individually, and that is who you are. I have spent time with you. You are an amazing person. I absolutely wish you well. And I will echo what Council President Harden say. It takes courage to do exactly what you're doing. And people need to see other people being brave. And so I applaud you for being brave. I applaud you for trusting your heart and going to find a new journey. And Shelley Fisher Photography will be around forever. You can capture some ocean stuff if you want to. But the best will always be here in Columbus for you. So thank you for all that you have done for us. And we continue to wish you well in your next journey. With that, I move for adoption.
Bankston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorrance, Favor, Remy, President Harden.
That is all I have, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Remy.
Thank you, Council President. Just wanted to say, as I complete my 6th year, it's hard to believe there was that decade of COVID in between, but been here, sitting here for 6 years. In the final evening of 7 members on council, after a good 100-plus year run, we are now going to be 9. But I want to thank all my colleagues for their collaboration and wish everyone in the community and all your families and staff, we want to wish you all a very happy holiday season and be safe out there, all right? See you tomorrow.
I don't believe that will be the end of Remy's teary holiday send-off that he does every year. So just wait. Yeah, just wait. But this is the last council meeting of the year. And what that also means for this council, I mean, it's a historic night. For the last 100 years, this body has been made up of 7 members. When we reconvene in 3 short weeks, it will look different than it ever has, with 9 members serving the residents of Columbus. And tonight, as we think about the history that we are making, we have to stop and thank a history maker who time and time again, when their community asked them to serve, raised his hand and said yes. Councilmember Mitch Brown has he joined council in 2016, retired in 2021, came back in 2022. He has over 20 years of service to the city of Columbus. I was thinking, when he was appointed safety director, I was 12 years old. I was around, but I was definitely still in middle school. 40 years of government experience, served our country in the Air Force, served 2 different major cities, Cleveland and Columbus, served as the director of the Ohio Department of Public Safety and the Lottery Commission, right? And every time he was asked, he did so, which meant that, again, with service, it wasn't just him that served his family. And so Miss Becky, when I think about a public servant, and I won't even go, well, I will go into the history. You know, when we think about the work that he has done to change how medical services are provided to all of us, all around the country and all around the world, and that we've had that genius and that history maker sitting right here with us, it blows my mind. And so I am so grateful to a friend, to a mentor, to the epitome of a public servant in Councilmember Mitchell J. Brown. I think he's probably the only council member in city history that also has a fire station named after him, but it's because he has earned this, and we just say thank you. I personally, as council president, say thank you for your service. You know, do any of my colleagues have anything to say before we turn over to Councilmember Brown? Please.
Well, as your seatmate, I will say, I just want to say thank you for, I remember when, after I came on to council, you and I had a conversation and you were sharing some sage advice with me that I will not forget. I'm not going to share it with everyone else because I believe that it was just for me, but I want to say thank you for, you know, it's funny, because I feel like in many ways you've been a coach as we've been up here. I remember my first few council meetings, you whispering, do this or do that, or follow up on this, or all along the way that we've been here, you have been the optimal gentleman, always, I don't know who's going to take care of me in this big old chair. But also, I think the time and attention and intention that you have around the community, and I think forcing us to think differently and forcing, you know, I think sometimes we carry different perspectives, whether that's generationally or whether that's, you know, just how we think about things, but that's how progress happens. It is both honoring our past and pushing forward for progress to our future. And I just appreciate so much your counsel since I've been here, and appreciate you sharing perspective with me and the way that you care for others. And I also, Council President didn't mention this, but one of the things I also thought about was, I remember you talking about your struggles, your health struggles, and what a warrior you've been. and how you literally changed your lifestyle so that you could be here. And I think that's a testament to who you are, Mitch Brown, as a person in the world and as a leader in this community. So thank you.
I just want to say thank you for your example, for your leadership, and I have been honored to serve with you. And if you remember, when I was sworn into office in this chamber, you were the person that pinned me. And at that point, it was me feeling like I was stepping into shoes. And so to be able to sit back on the dais with you has been my life's honor. And I think the calm, steady voice that you have always been in difficult votes and things that I've had to shepherd over this year, I can't say how much I've appreciated that. And so thank you. I know that you probably will not be done serving because we will continue to call upon you when necessary. And like the spirit of who you are, you'll continue to raise your hand. And so I appreciate that. But thank you for all that you've done in this round and all of the other rounds and everything you've done for our community.
Well, okay. Councilmember Brown, it's hard to do this twice. So I'm going to repeat a lot of what I said before because it still stands, but thank you for making me a better policymaker, a better partner, and better dad for all of the talks we've had over the years. It is rare for us to actually serve as a living legend in Columbus, and I think that's the way that most of us feel about you. And again, you ain't going anywhere. You're not losing our phone numbers, and we're not losing yours. But it has been an honor to serve and, more importantly, learn from you during my time here. And so thank you on behalf of the residents of Columbus. Thank you.
Councilmember Brown, you know, you are the embodiment of what a public servant should be. I don't know how many people would have done what you did. And you unwavered, and you came in full force, ready to serve all over again, and not looking for limelight and applause, but just ready to do the work on behalf of the residents of this amazing city. That's public service. You are a stand-up man. And you have changed and saved many lives in this community just by your presence, by your advocacy, your willingness to say hard things and do hard things. You've broken barriers over and over again and still doing it to this day. So I just want to say thank you because you did not have to do this. Thank you for leaning in, being a part of uncomfortable conversations, pushing us to be better. And I think that because of that, we are much better. Thank you for your service, sir.
Councilmember Brown, it's been great to serve with you once again. I would have never guessed you would have came back because I know how important it is to be a grandfather to you. And watching you glow around City Hall over the last year has been nothing short of special. But thank you for being a great colleague. Thank you for taking care of my kids when they come down looking for candy. They know exactly where to go. And thank you for being a great partner in council. And so we've collaborated on many things over the years, especially this year. And it's been a great honor to work for you. I've known you many, 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 many years before council as well. And so it's been a pleasure to serve with you once again. And I'll go home, take care of Becca, take care of the grandbaby, and hopefully there's many more on the way. So we wish you the best. Thank you.
Thanks, Manny. My wife is here this evening. I told her obviously this would be my last meeting in City Council, and she wanted to come and share this with me. I have been blessed in so many ways. Some of you may know my whole story, some of you may not. But I sat in that chair for 15 years and did the best I could to serve the city of Columbus as its director. Challenging, demanding, overwhelmingly rewarding in so many different ways about helping to make our city the best city we could possibly make it. Working with individuals, you just can't compare. We, our law enforcement officers, our firefighters, our EMS personnel, the things they bring to the table were just incredible. This year, coming back to City Council, two things happened for me. One, gun locks. We bought 5,000 gun locks in June of this year, and we've given away over 4,000 of those gun locks. That's a collaborative effort. Working together to make that happen. And working in Rec and Parks opened up a whole different world for me to appreciate the importance of our Recreation and Parks Division. And when I would go to other cities, I spent time finding out about how they did things, and I would come back and certainly spend time with Director Reese and talk to her about and suggest ideas and things that she could do to try to make our Rec and Parks better. I rarely tell people what to do. I simply suggest, and then when you don't do it, then I get upset. But that's just the way I am about trying to do business. We've been very, very fortunate working with my colleagues here on City Council. All of you, as the council president said, I knew him when he was 12 years old. Watched him grow to become council president. Very, very special in of itself, and all the other members who are up here this evening. But also, we had a wonderful opportunity to work with the clerk. You need to know that Angie Blevins, I knew her before I even came to work here in Columbus, Ohio, when I worked for the state. She knew me through her Jerry Hammond, who was the council president at the time. I was in Cleveland. Spectacular lady. I say it to her in front of all of you because she helped groom each and every one of us in order to be able to do the jobs that we do. Your engagement, Angie, is absolutely invaluable, so thank you. And I look behind, and I have to talk about Megan Kilgore. Meg would work with me when she was working down in the auditor's office before she became the auditor about getting things accomplished. That's always been the objective. How do we get things done? We don't necessarily always agree, but we managed to figure out a way to get things done. And when it came to finding money, because working in public safety, I always wanted to spend money. That's simply the way it worked out. And Hugh Dorian and Megan would always try to help me figure out a way to make that happen. So I would say to all of you, I just came, my wife and I, we just came back from the Cleveland Clinic last week, and I got a clean bill of health. Being a cancer survivor is really special, and having an appreciation for the fact that I have a mantra, and that mantra is for all of you. Every day is a good day. Some days are better, and some days are holidays. Thank you, Council President.
Help us celebrate the ultimate public servant, Mitchell J. Brown. Councilmember, we did not get you a resolution because we literally have given you two that say the same thing about retiring. So we do look forward to celebrating you more privately. To any of our elected officials, our auditor, so good to see our friends, city attorney's office, clerk's office. We have another long evening together tonight as the last meeting. We probably made it a little bit longer for us with our resolutions, but it was important. So we're going to break again early like we did last week now, and then we will come back together shortly for zoning. May I have a motion for recess? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Recess. Call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing none, the journal is approved. We'll now go to the zoning committee. President Pro Tem Dorans chairs that committee, and all members serve on it. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Before we begin tonight's zoning agenda, allow me to briefly explain our current rules pertaining to speaking before council on rezonings and variances. We only hear a staff presentation for ordinances that have a disapproval from recommending body, or if we have a public speaker signed up to speak against an ordinance. We allow 3 speakers in favor and 3 speakers against any ordinance. Someone who's signed up to speak is not present, the next person on the list will be able to fill that slot. All speakers on council variances, including city staff, area commissioners, applicants, and members of the public, will be sworn in before they give testimony. Representatives of an area commission and applicants are always able to speak on an ordinance and do not need to fill out a speaker slip. Tonight, we have 2 public speaker slips in addition to an area commission. However, one of those speaker slips has been rescinded. On the advice of the city attorney's office, I will now swear in city staff. Please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, that you shall answer pains of penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do. I do. Thank you. Please let the record reflect that Tim Dietrich and Brandon Carpenter from the Department of Building and Zoning Services, Christopher Lohr from the Planning Division, and Dan Bleschmidt from the Department of Public Service have been sworn in. Before we get into tonight's ordinances on our zoning agenda, I want to point out a couple of items for the body. Our agenda tonight will be considering 15 total ordinances that can pave the way for building 664 new housing units across the city of Columbus. If approved, these new units will be built in different neighborhoods across the city, including Near East Side, Milo Grogan, West Scioto, the far northwest, South Side, and Blacklight. With that in mind, we'll move to the legislation in the committee. First, we have Ordinance 3373-2023 to rezone 1160 Camden Avenue, being 12.5 plus acres located in the east terminus of Camden Avenue from M Manufacturing District to LARLD Limited Apartment Residential District. The requested rezoning will allow development of an apartment complex containing 217 units. The proposal has approvals from City Staff, Development Commission, and Milo Grogan Area Commission. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? See none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3393-2023 to rezone 3075 South High Street, being 19.25 plus acres located in the west side of South High Street, being 1,160 plus feet south of Southgate Drive, from R2 Residential District and CPD Commercial Plan Development District to LM Limited Manufacturing District. The applicant requests the rezoning to allow 5,000 square feet distillery and soda production facility with additional eating and drinking establishment and retail uses on site. The proposal has approvals from City Staff, Development Commission, and Far South Area Commission. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3423-2023 to amend ordinance number 2369-2003, passed November 17, 2003, for the property located at 1120 Evans Way Court, formerly addressed as 1116 Evans Way Court, by repealing sections 1 and 3 and replacing with new sections 1 and 3, including legal descriptions for specific property, and to modify CPD text and plan. This ordinance pertains to a .70 plus acre portion of the existing CPD district, and it amends the CPD district to allow for a single lane automated car wash facility with a flat roof. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3426-2023 to rezone 7450 Huntington Park Drive, being 7.39 plus acres located east side of Huntington Park Drive, 480 plus feet southeast of Horizon Drive, from CPD Commercial Plan Development District to ARO Apartment Office District. The site consists of 2 parcels, one of which is developed with an office building. The proposed rezoning will allow reduced development of the site with a proposed 204-unit apartment complex. The proposal has approvals from city staff, the Development Commission, and the Far North Columbus Coalition, Communities Coalition. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3436-2023 to rezone 6935 Harlem Drive, being 14.88 plus acres located in the west side of Harlem Road, 400 plus feet north of Central College Road from R Rural District to AR1 Apartment Residential District. The site consists of 3 parcels, each developed with a single-unit dwelling. Proposed rezoning permit redevelopment of the site with a 282 multi-unit residential development. The proposal has approvals from City Staff, Development Commission, and the Rocky Fork Black Lake Accord. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3308-2023 to rezone 198 McNaughton Drive, being 24.8 plus acres located on the east side of McNaughton Road, 1,425 plus feet south of East Broad Street from R Rural District to LAR12 Limited Apartment Residential District. At the request of the applicant, I move to refer this ordinance back to committee.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Refer back to committee.
Thank you. Next, we move into the council variances portion of our agenda. First, we have ordinance 3350-2023 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.035 R3 Residential District, 3349.03 permitted uses, 3332.13 R3 district lots requirements, 3332.05A4 area district lot with requirements, 3332.19 fronting, 3332.27 rear yard, and 3332.38F private garages of the Columbus City Code for the property located at 1659 Franklin Park South to allow a 2-unit dwelling on 1 lot with reduced development standards in the R3 residential district and 1 institutional district, and repeal ordinance number 2834-95 passed December 18th, 1995. A building permit has been approved for a single-unit dwelling and a slab for a future rear detached 2-car garage. The requested council variance will allow construction of the garage with a single-unit dwelling or a carriage house above. A variance is required because the current zoning only allows for a 1 single-unit dwelling. Proposal has approvals from city staff and the Near East Area Commission. Do my colleagues have questions or comments? Seeing none, I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
Thank you. Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
And finally, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3390-2023 to grant a variance provisions of section 3312.27 parking setback lines, 3321.05B2 vision clearance, 3333.18 building lines, 3333.255 perimeter yard, the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 3670 Tribute Road to allow reduced development standards for an apartment complex in the AR2 Apartment Residential District, to repeal ordinance number 3417-2022 passed December 12th, 2022. The site is the subject to ordinance 3417-2022, again passed December 12th of last year, which allows an apartment complex development containing 205 units. This council variance reduces the maximum number of units to 132, which will meet the minimum number of parking spaces required and includes less variances to the overall development of the site. Proposal has approvals from city staff and the West Side Area Commission. Do my colleagues have some questions or comments? Seeing none, I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
Thank you. I next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
Thank you. I next move to amend as submitted to clerk.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Amend it.
Thank you. And finally, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3398-2023 to grant a variance for provisions of section 3332.037 R2F residential districts, 3332.18 basis of computing area, 3332.19 fronting, 3332.25 maximum side yard required, 3332.26 minimum side yard permitted, and 3332.27 rear yard of the Columbus City Code for the property located at 30 East Columbus Street to allow 3 single-unit dwellings on one lot with reduced development standards in the R2F residential district. At the request of the applicant, I move to refer this ordinance back to committee.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Refer to committee.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3401-2023 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.03 AR3 Residential District 3312.21A and D1 Landscaping and Screening, 3312.27 Parking Setback Line, and 3312.49C minimum number of parking spaces required, and 3321.05B2 Vision Clearance, 3333.15C Basic Computing Area, and 3333.18F Building Lines, the Columbus City Codes for property located at 1599 Oak Street to allow mixed-use development with reduced development standards in the AR3 residential district and repeal ordinance number 1970-2019 passed July 29th, 2019. This site consists of an undeveloped parcel and is the subject of ordinance number 1970-2019, which allowed a 100-unit apartment building with an approved site plan. The requested council variance will also allow a 102-unit apartment building with a commercial fitness facility and an updated site plan that includes parking on the western side of the property along Oak and Kelton Avenue. Variances for parking setback, parking lot landscaping and screening, vision clearance, lot coverage, building lines, and a parking reduction from 162 to 102 parking spaces are included in this request. The proposal has approvals from city staff and a disapproval from the Near East Area Commission. Due to the disapproval, we'll now hear a staff presentation from Mr. Tim Dietrich from the Department of Building and Zoning Services. Mr. Dietrich, the floor is yours.
President Harden, Chair Dorans, members of council, the site consists of an undeveloped parcel in the AR3 apartment residential district. The site is subject to ordinance 1970-2019, which allowed a 102-unit apartment building with an approved site plan. The requested council variance will also allow a 102-unit apartment building with a commercial fitness facility and an updated site plan that includes parking on the western side of the property along Oak Street and Kelton Avenues. Variances for parking setback, parking lot screening, landscaping, vision clearance, lot coverage, building lines, and a parking reduction from 162 to 102 parking spaces are included in the request. The site is located within the planning boundaries of the Near East Area Plan, which does not contain a specific land use recommendation for this location, but does state that new residential development should be consistent with the existing development pattern and housing types in the area. Staff continues to support the proposed mixed-use development at this location as it contains the same number of dwelling units as previously approved, includes a commitment to building elevations, and does not introduce an incompatible use to the area, and therefore city departments recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Dietrich. Any questions from council members for Mr. Dietrich at this time? Seeing none, I would like to ask Mr. Chris Lohr from the Division of Planning to explain a little bit more about their continued support for this application coming before the body this evening.
Thank you. The Planning Division continues to support this application. As noted, the density has not changed on this particular project. In addition, the design is comparable to the previous design and is consistent with the design guidelines in the Near East Area Plan. The mitigating factors for supporting the parking lot at the corner include the topography of the site and the type of construction that is being proposed, which is not the typical stick-built construction. So they've included landscaping to screen that parking lot. So after review of the building elevations and that landscaping, plan moved to full support.
Thank you, Mr. Lohr. Any questions for planning from council members at this time? Thank you. Seeing none, I would invite Mr. Sean Mennel, the representing attorney for the applicant, to the podium for a presentation from the applicants. Welcome back to council. When you're up here, I'll go ahead and swear you in. Thank you. Thank you. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth and nothing but the truth as you shall answer under pain to penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Thank you. Ms. Mennel,
Thank
floor
you.
is yours.
President Harden, Chair Dorns, members of council. We bring this project before you. It was begun in 2018, received a council variance as part of the overall development of the East Market area in 2019. East Market development started to move forward, and then, of course, COVID hit. We had a lot of changes, a lot of delays. As we came back to move this project forward, Brad DeHaze, who is the developer, in the meantime had started an effort to actually reduce the cost of affordable housing in Central Ohio as opposed to fill the gaps by creating a manufacturing facility in the Linden area that produces a modular type unit that can be put together to build up to 13 stories high and any number of units added horizontally. And these units are self-contained. They are permitted from the interior, so it reduces on-site time, construction time, which reduces costs significantly of developing an affordable project. And this project will be, at least 35% of the units will be at 80% or lower AMI. So this will be the first project to incorporate the Connect housing blocks, which are made right here, into this project. We changed the layout and the design to remove the office component due to any number of circumstances, but COVID not being the least of which. And I know you've seen it, office is a little less in demand. So we are maintaining the amount of housing units, adding the commercial gym, but coming back with the same 8 variances that were approved in 2019. 6 of those are identical to the 2019 variances, 2 of which modify a little differently because of the layout, and that layout is primarily due to the utilization of the Connect housing blocks and the topography of the site. We took this project before the Near East Area Commission. We went to the Planning Committee first for a conceptual review. The top feedback we got at that point was, hey, let's make sure this looks as nice as the East Market. We then shifted from a kind of a faux brick facade to an enhanced brick facade, so full brick facade, and then went back to NEAC through Planning Commission, zoning, and full commission. Were unable to get approval. Some of the concerns were the parking lot at Oak and Kelton, which, because of the topography and the way that the property lays, it would have been a significant massing issue at that corner. And one of the issues raised by the Near East Area Commission was also the safety of the vision triangle at that 3-way intersection of Oak and Kelton. And I think kind of moving a building off of that site triangle and putting or leaving a better vision there works out. In addition, the other variances that aren't exactly the same variances is just where the parking and building setback lines occur. So they are still the same parking and building setback lines that were approved in 2019. They're just located in different parts of the project. So with that, I would be happy to take any questions.
Any questions from council members, the applicant's representative at this time? Seeing none. Mr. Mennel, we'll probably call you back up after the Area Commission has an opportunity to speak to the application. Thank you. I believe we have Near East Area Commissioner Chair Katie Curry D'Souza with us here as well, representing the Area Commission. Thank you for being here, Chair. Welcome back to council, and I will swear you in whenever you're ready.
Kate.
I'm sorry, Kate. Raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth and nothing but the truth as you shall answer in the pains or penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Floor is yours, Chair.
Thank you. Good evening, President Harden, Chair Dorans, and esteemed members of the council. As you know, the Near East Area Commission helps preserve the history of the Near East Side, and we are tasked with continually establishing relationships and we work with our community partners. NEAC really works to ensure that the community has strong representation on issues that impact residents and business owners. This vote was 112-1 opposed. This vote was based on legitimate planning principles, not objection to the appearance. NEAC is pro-housing and has supported almost all proposed projects. We've seen a lot this year, and we have over the past few years since I've been chair. In 2018, 2019, this design was substantially different and superior in terms of complementing the East Market Trolley complex, as well as Franklin Park area in general, which is a pretty historic area for the Near East Side. We reacted to changes including parking lot on the strategic corner, as noted, which is at Kelton and Oak, and massiveness of the building, which is only nominal setback on Oak, and almost total lot coverage when you're talking about the building plus the parking lot. We really felt that the design was inappropriate for the location. And we support the use of modular units, but that's just a construction technique, not actually a design. The developer really, when I say that unequivocally very unwilling to negotiate in terms of changes to the plan with NEAC and chose not to meet with the area civic, to me that speaks a lot of things in that absence of ability to have a true conversation. Oftentimes, NEAC has come, we've been able to work through many plans before it comes to you in a way that really, I think, respects the neighborhood and the desires of the people who live on the Near East Side and the history that we represent, and also helps us build more housing for people who we would like to retain and also bring to the Near East Side. But if I'm telling you that the neighborhood and the commission input is irrelevant to the council's willingness to approve housing projects, then what are we doing here? Because the commission has spent an exhaustive amount of time on many of these projects to try to get them to the finish line so that you get an excellent package that meets all the different things that our community needs. And so we are asking you to reject this. It needs more time to be changed. There are options here that we can come back to the table with. I understand that the developer wanted to bring this to you before the end of the year, and although I understand that that's really important, this is a building that's going to be permanently on the Near East Side, and it's going to be permanently changed. We had no problem with them continuing with the plan that came out of 2018, 2019, and if they had chosen to revert to that, we wouldn't have had a problem. We recognize that office space is not needed, but there were other opportunities with this building than what we are presented with today. And the gym was also presented as not being commercial in terms of being open to the public, but really just for residents of that space. So when we think about carving out spaces for residents to really utilize spaces that need to be enjoyed by many people, not just the people living in that space, in that home, in that apartment that's theirs, we're really looking for something that's going to meet a lot of needs from the neighborhood, and this just doesn't do it. Thank you for taking the time to hear me tonight.
Thank you, Chair. Any questions from council members for Chair D'Souza at this time? Council President? Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. And I do want to take this opportunity to compliment the commission. So NEAC has had a longstanding, very thorough process, and as chair of this committee, I can tell the difference of when the chair is talking about their level of analysis into these things. The feedback was very, very specific, and that is appreciative from this council, really to make sure we're not guessing about where folks are at. And I want to compliment you and everyone, certainly at the commission, for working through that. That allows us to really understand sort of where folks are at and why versus sort of guessing. And that's certainly something that we've come to expect out of you all, and this application is no different.
We are very fortunate to have a ton of excellent, we have 16 other commissioners on our commission that are every day come ready to represent the community, and we have community members on our planning and zoning and community engagement committee that also show up for this. It's very important for us to ensure that we're representative of the community, and we appreciate the opportunity and the compliment. We're working hard. Thank you.
Chair Curry D'Souza, thank you very much for being here. I do want to invite Mr. Mennel as an applicant for the attorney, or attorney for the applicant, to return to address the points raised by the area commission.
Thank you, Chair Dorns. Just a couple comments. The lot coverage, as was mentioned, is the same. It's 55% of the lot. That was the variance that we received in 19. It is the same variance we seek now, so it is the same coverage. Chair Curtis is right, it is a different design. Using modular units is a construction element, but in this case, it's also a design element as they match up. And so it has to impact the design. The other point about the gym being commercial, the gym is commercial. If it wasn't, we wouldn't be here for council variance. That's the use portion of this variance request. So with that, I would take any.
Question from Councilmember Brown.
Mr. Mental, she made reference to the fact of a construction technique. I didn't know what that means.
Well,
That's all right.
Or council member, sorry, confusing the State House and council. Councilmember Brown, I think she's referring to the utilization of the modular units. Okay. So the technique that I had mentioned earlier, which is the modular units manufactured in the facility come out as almost like a sealed unit that is permitted on the inside entirely. So the only permitting on site that occurs is when you connect it with the rest of the building. So that technique is utilizing these modular units. And that does impact our design as to how those modular units fit together. Yeah. So it's a little different technique of erecting the project.
Thank you.
Councilmember Bankston.
Just to clarify on the gym, understanding it's a commercial use, but will it be membership based? Will folks be able to use it in the community, or how will that?
So for any use that is not from a resident makes it commercial. So, and I'll check my client, but it is available to any linkage through the East Market, whether you're a tenant, whether you're utilizing co-working space. So it actually extends outside of the project. It's not just for residents.
Got it.
Council President.
Mr. Mitchell, will you talk about the engagement? And I asked that, the chair brought up, feelings of not being engaged at the civic, and then at the area commission. And for me, it's just a process thing. So you meet with folks even when we're not happy with them, or that we don't think that they will agree with what we're saying, but you meet with them. Can you talk to me about the strategy and how we engage with the community on this one?
Sure. Sure, President Harden, excuse me. We went to the planning committee as a conceptual project first, so not to be voted on or recommended. Then went back to the planning committee, presented the project, got the recommendation there, went to the zoning committee, did the on-site visit, and then went to the full commission. In the meantime, in terms of engagement, I mean, we host and have a number of events at the East Market where the commission is there. We had representatives, and I'll confirm this with the representative back there, but at a number of NEAC meetings, and I think, did you go to the Civic? Just on, were you at the Civics on general? Okay, the property manager was engaged, although not specifically on this project, but I mean, we're engaged on a regular basis with the community there.
I will say that to Chair Doran's point, I do see NEAC as being a pro-housing area commission that has understand the values that I think this council has in terms of increasing supply, especially in a neighborhood that once was more dense. And so it has space to grow. So just making the point that their advocacy against is a point that has me that I take, I would say.
Any other questions from council members at this time, either for the applicant or the departments? Councilmember Barosa de Padilla.
Can you talk a little bit about the parking? Because I think that was the other big change, right? The concern was around the parking lot.
Sure. So the parking, when this was initially designed, it was two buildings, and the parking sat in between. utilizing the new techniques, the way that it worked, became one building, and the parking shifted, at least part of the parking shifted from the interior to the western portion, so that we could keep the building and it's massing towards the middle.
Because of the, is that because of the module, because of the way the buildings fit together, it would have to be one unit instead of being two separate buildings?
And the topography. I mean, that's how it all came together.
Okay.
And just on the parking note, with that being a prominent corner, are there plans for landscaping and proper screening of that parking
We
lot?
are going to screen the lot from Vision Triangle to Vision Triangle on Kelton to the extent permissible with, we're going to utilize vegetation shrubbery up to the maximum height that we can put it.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Any other council members at this time? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're good. As I mentioned, I do want to, again, compliment NEAC and certainly Chair for being here tonight. I think when you look at a project that had 2019 universal support or near universal support at the Area Commission and where we're at now with that vote, that's not something that council certainly takes lightly by any stretch. I think ultimately what's in front of us is the legal question of these variances being granted or not granted, and whether or not there's adequate hardships for this council to grant those. Again, as I said, I think NEAC has been very, very clear about their criticisms of this project. I think some of those criticisms go outside of what the specific variances that are before the body here tonight. It is disappointing to hear that their expectations of engagement, I think this council's expectations of engagement were not met here. I think that said, based upon what we know from the Area Commission, certainly, again, as it translates to us from a variance standpoint, we don't necessarily see a pathway in which this applicant would be bringing anything different at this point with this particular project. Because of those variances, again, the questions of what the hardship is, certainly no site plan is going to be perfect. But the question before us ultimately is there an actual hardship for this applicant as it pertains specifically to the variances? I think based upon the guide from the Division of Planning, in my view, it does. So at this point, unless any other council members have anything to add, I would first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Next, move to adopt the findings of staff, the findings of council.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
And finally, move for passage.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3410-2023 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.035 R3 Residential District 3312.49C, minimum number of parking spaces required of the Columbus City Code for property located at 1600 East Long Street to allow a community center with an accessory eating and drinking establishment and reduced parking in the R3 Residential District. The site is currently developed with a former Columbus Metropolitan Library branch. Council variance is required because the current zoning code does not allow commercial uses, while the applicant proposes to reuse the existing building to provide a community center with accessory eating and drinking component. A variance to reduce the number of parking spaces from 38 to 35 provided spaces is included in this request. The proposal has approvals from city staff and the Near East Area Commission. We have one public speaker assigned to speak against the ordinance. So we will now hear a staff presentation from Mr. Brandon Carpenter from the Department of Building and Zoning Services. Mr. Carpenter, the floor is yours.
President Harden, Chair Dorans, members of council. The site is currently developed with a former Columbus Metropolitan Library branch in the R3 Residential District. A council variance is required because the R3 district does not allow commercial uses, while the applicant proposes to reuse the existing building to provide a community center with an accessory eating and drinking component. A variance to reduce required number of parking spaces from 38 to 35 provided spaces is included in the request. The site is located in the Near East Area Plan planning boundary, which does not contain a specific land use recommendation for this location, but contains criteria to evaluate proposed commercial uses in residential areas. Staff supports the proposed use and the parking reduction as it repurposes a commercial building and will have a minimum impact on adjacent properties due to its quasi-institutional nature akin to the former library. Therefore, City Department's recommendation is for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Any questions for the department at this time by council members? Seeing none, I would invite Dr. Joshua Joseph, Medical Director for the OSU Healthy Community Center, to speak to this application. Dr. Joseph, welcome to council. I'll swear you in here in a second. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth and nothing but the truth as you shall answer the painful penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Doctor, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, President Hardin. Thank you, Chair Durans. Thank you, council members. We are certainly excited about the Healthy Community Center. This was the former Martin Luther King Jr. Library. As many of you know, this was the first Martin Luther Jr. library in the entire country. His father came to dedicate this library, and so clearly this is a point of pride for the community and also a point of pride for Ohio State. You know, how can we connect and engage with community members through this space? So we've gone through an extensive community engagement period, starting in 2019 and 2020 with 4 community sessions then. We had the pandemic, but over the last 18 months, we've hosted more community sessions, both right near the Healthy Community Center as well as other areas on the Near East Side. And in those community engagement sessions, there were 4 big priorities. The first was for a demonstration kitchen where we can teach cooking to community members. We already do a lot of work in community gardens on the Near East Side, so how do we continue that work to build in healthy eating and healthy cooking? The second piece was for community rooms. So we have 2 large community rooms for community meetings and other programming to advance health. We have a third area, which is a community innovation space. You can think of this as an incubator. So someone might want to teach yoga, and they need a space to do that in so that they can grow their business over time. And business incubation also came out of those community engagement meetings. And then the last space is a healthy retail cafe. It sits on the front corner of the building, and the goal here was healthy eating. What we heard from the community loud and clear was there was not enough spaces for healthy eating in the community, and so that's how we came up with the healthy retail cafe. With all of this, we've been engaged with community throughout. We've also been through the NEAC process and also presented at multiple civic meetings on the Near East Side as well. So with that, I'll yield the floor and say thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. We do, as I mentioned earlier, have one public speaker. We may call you back up after the public speaker. Ms. Weta Jackson. Ms. Jackson, welcome to council. If you wouldn't mind raising your right hand so I can swear you in. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth and nothing but the truth as you shall answer in painful penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do.
Yes, I do.
Ms. Jackson, the floor is yours.
Thank you. President Hardin, Chair Doran, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Weta Jackson, and I'm a neighbor in close proximity to the building that this variance is for. As I understand it, the applicant asks for a hardship variance in order for portions of the building to operate as retail and/or cafe/restaurant. I do not believe that this particular location is at all suitable for such an enterprise. Additionally, there is no real community need for a restaurant or retail to operate there. We already have those enterprises just short distances away. There are commercial nodes already established on the west on Long Street, Taylor Avenue, Mount Vernon Avenue, and East Broad Street. In fact, OSU owns various properties within those nodes. So I continue to ask, why would they want to disrupt a residential street this way? Especially as I think back to when I know that our neighbors fought so hard to keep this section residential. I would also like to point out that there are already plenty of places to eat in the area. Notably, the new East Market, which is just across the park, Old Bag of Nails, a full cafeteria 2 blocks away located at OSU East, to name just a few. There is no need for a cafe or a restaurant at this location. Excuse me, a little nervous. Another concern is that I fear that if this variance is granted here, the others will view this as a precedent by which to develop other nearby properties that are currently being considered for development. For instance, the corner of Woodland and Long Street. And then this area will have lost its character and identity as a quiet residential neighborhood. In conclusion, my opposition is in general because this will change the character of this street, as well as opening the door for others to request similar variances for existing dwellings and vacant land in the area. The tight cluster of houses to the proposed usage variance is exactly why this location is not ideal for this type of zoning variance. I ask that the committee consider a denial of the variance, as there is already adequate zoning in place where additional restaurants and retail should be located within our neighborhood as outlined in the Near East Area Plan. The Healthy Community Center can and should operate without this retail and restaurant component, which is what requires, the variance.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Do any of my colleagues have any questions at this time?
I do.
Council President.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. So specifically, you're not opposed to OSU, the work that's going to be done there. It's just the specific to the restaurant retail component of it.
That's exactly right. I'm not opposed to the reduction in the parking. I'm not opposed to the incubators. I'm not opposed to anything. It's just that retail component which requires the variance.
And you believe, and that's because of increased traffic to the site, or like just unpack that a little bit more for me, like what component of that them having that food component is the piece.
The fact that the property is residential, and like I said, the neighborhood, when we first bought our house there, they were in transition and trying to keep the neighborhood from becoming anything other than residential. So the neighbors fought hard to keep that designation. And I think that, in my opinion, if this variance is granted for this property, then a block away where all this development is being discussed, that's just possibly going to open the door for more commercial development. And it's a tight residential neighborhood. I don't think we can accommodate that.
I hear you. Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you. I do want to call Dr. Joseph back up to speak directly to the variance regarding the eating and drinking. So again, generally, the variance that is targeted, that's requested here, does not specify a specific use. It is a general variance that allows any number of different eating and drinking uses within it. So, Doctor, could you talk about what the plans exactly are for that variance for this application?
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Chair Durance. So the space that we're talking about is a relatively small space. To give you an idea, I think there's 4 or 5 tables there, a couch, I think, in there. And so, we're talking about a small, healthy retail cafe is the proposed plan for this space. We will put out an RFI to work with a community vendor because that was also from the community members. They really wanted a community member to kind of run that small retail cafe.
I'm sorry.
Councilmember.
This could be more like a coffee bar, right? Or something small that a grab and go, that if you were at the center for, let's say, yoga and you want to get a smoothie after, right? It's not like an extensive, large eatery or that sort of thing. Is that the intention, as I'm understanding it?
That is the intention. And once again, like we have, I think, 4 or 5 tables in the space.
Any other questions from council members? Seeing none. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much.
Again, I want to thank Ms. Jackson for coming down. I know she has met with my staff to talk through some of these issues before. I think to her point about setting a precedent, I think because of the uniqueness of this property being a former library branch, the uniqueness of the applicant itself being Ohio State that has very specific uses planned for this, I'm comfortable moving forward because we're not talking about some large restaurant or certainly the intense focus of the property being redeveloped primarily for that purpose. Certainly any application that comes to council is evaluated on its own. So I certainly understand the concern of potentially this making a change or setting a precedent, but certainly all these applications are viewed on their own, I think in particular because who the applicant is as it relates to what their planned usage of this, I'm comfortable moving forward at this time. So first I move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit. Oh, I'm sorry, Council President, we're going to do a voice vote on this one.
Oh, sure.
So move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit by voice.
And Chair, before I call the vote and vote on it, I would like to just encourage OSU, my friend Annie, to Dr. Joseph. It is imperative to build a relationship with the neighbors right across the street. The Jackson family is literally right across the street, and it would just behoove the work that you're trying to do to have that type of a relationship where the conversation should be happening well before we get here in terms of relationship building, so that we can, because there's a lot of good work I think that will come out of this place, and I know personally the work of Weta Jackson and in our community in that neighborhood. So again, it would behoove everyone to build that relationship. Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bankston? Ms. Barosa de Padilla? Mr. Brown? Mr. Dorans?
Yes.
Ms. Faber?
Abstain.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
President Harden?
Yes. Accepted, thank you.
I next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council by voice.
Is there a second? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bankston? Ms. Barosa de Padilla? Mr. Brown? Mr. Dorans?
Yes.
Ms. Faber?
Abstain.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
President Harden?
Yes, adopted.
Thank you. I next move to amend as submitted to the clerk by voice.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bankston? Ms. Barosa de Padilla? Mr. Brown? Mr. Dorans?
Yes.
Ms. Faber?
Abstain.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
President Harden?
Yes, amended.
And finally, move for passage by voice.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bankston? Ms. Barosa de Padilla? Mr. Brown? Mr. Dorans?
Yes.
Ms. Faber?
Abstain.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
President Harden?
Yes, passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3416-2023 to grant advance provisions of section 3332.035, R3 Residential District, 3312.25 maneuvering, 3312.27 parking setback lines, 3332.25 maximum side yard required, and 3332.26 minimum side yard permitted. The Columbus City Code, so property located at 1872 South Pearl Street to allow an automotive maintenance and repair facility with reduced development standards in the R3 residential district. The site consists of one parcel developed with a non-conforming automotive maintenance and repair facility. The requested council variance will conform the existing auto repair facility. The proposal is approved from city staff in the Columbus Southside Area Commission. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Bankston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Thank you. Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Adopted.
And finally, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3429-2023 to grant a variance provisions of section 3333.255 permanent yard of the Columbus City Code for property located at 7450 Huntington Park Drive to allow reduced permanent yard for apartment complex, the ARO Apartment Office District. This is a concurrent variance to the rezoning passed earlier this evening for a proposed 204-unit apartment complex. The proposal has approvals from city staff, Far North Columbus Coalition, Communities Coalition. First, I move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Accepted.
Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Accepted.
And I next move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Amended.
And finally, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, we have ordinance 3435-2023 to grant a variance provisions of section 3333.02 AR 12 ARLD apartment AR1 apartment residential district uses, 3312.49 minimum number of parking spaces required, 3321.05 B2 vision clearance, 3333.15 CD basic computing area, 3333.18 building lines, and 3333.255 perimeter yard for the property located at 359 East Markinson Avenue. Permit a non-accessory parking and reduced development standards for a multi-unit residential development in the AR1 apartment residential district, and repeal ordinance number 0865-2021. Passed April 22nd, 2021. The site consists of 4 parcels divided by a public alley previously developed with a former religious facility and parking lot. The requested council variance will allow redevelopment of the site with 18 townhouse-style apartment units. The proposal has approvals from city staff and the Columbus South Side Area Commission. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
Thank you. Next move to adopt the findings of staff is the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
Thank you. And finally, move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy.
I don't believe we have a speaker slip on this ordinance. Council President, can I request a 2-minute recess?
Sure. Is there a second? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
We're in recess. Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Meeting is reconvened.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to, at this point, move for passage on ordinance 3435.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3437-2023 to grant a variance provisions of section 3333.18 building lines, 3333.255 perimeter yard of the Columbus City Coast property located 6935 Harlem Road to allow reductions to building line and perimeter yard for a multi-unit resident development in the AR1 apartment residential district. This concurrent variance to a rezoning we passed earlier tonight for proposed 282-unit apartment complex. The proposal has approval from city staff and the Rocky Fork Black Lake Accord. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
Thank you. I next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
Next move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Is that adopted?
Amended.
Amended. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row. Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And finally, we have ordinance 3309-2023 to grant a variance provisions of sections 3312.21 landscape and screening, 3312.25 maneuvering, 3312.29 parking space, 3333.110 AR12 air district lot with requirements, 3333.18 building lines, and 333.255 perimeter yards of Columbus City Coast for property located at 198 McNaughton Road to permit reduced development standards for an apartment complex in the LAR12 limited apartment residential district. At the request of the applicant, I move to refer this ordinance back to committee.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Refer to committee.
Thank you, Council President. That's all we have in tonight's zoning agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. See no further business coming for the zoning committee. Is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Meeting is adjourned. Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
The next committee to come before council is the Economic Development Committee, chaired by Councilmember Banks and Councilmember Oh, we haven't done any of that yet. Oh, no. Are there any requests by members of council for the removal of an ordinance or resolution from the consent action portion of the agenda? Yeah, may we now have a Yeah, may we now have a motion to waive reading of the title of the 30-day legislation by the city clerk? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Will the clerk now read into the record the ordinance number of 30-day legislation on tonight's agenda for first reading?
Economic Development Committee ordinances 3307, 3309, 3310-2023. Public Service and Transportation Committee ordinances 3229, 3480-2023. Public Utilities Committee ordinances 2476, 3314, 3330, 3335, 3347, 3348, 3492-2023. Housing Committee ordinances 3377 and 3438-2023. Health and Human Services Committee ordinances 3409, 3412, 3414, 3415, 3417, 3419, 3424-2023. Public Safety Committee ordinance 3363-2023. Finance Committee ordinances 3468, 3471-2023.
Seeing no speakers on the first reading portion of the agenda, the following ordinances appear on our agenda as consent actions. Will the clerk now read those into the record?
Resolution 241X-2023, Economic Development Committee. Resolution 217X-2023, ordinances 3244, 3246, 3247, 3311, 3367, 3369, 3370, 3372, 3407, 3408-2023. Small and Minority Business Committee, ordinances 3529, 3530-2023. Technology Committee, ordinance 3395-2023. Public Service and Transportation Committee, Resolution 223X-2023, ordinances 1399, 3095, 3146, 3169, 3175, 3181, 3211, 3460-2023. Neighborhoods and Immigrant, Refugee, and Migrant Affairs Committee, ordinances 3037, 3396, 3425, 3463, 3497, 3512, 3534, 3551, 3540-2023. Recreation and Parks Committee, ordinances 3112, 3188, 3190, 3191, 3192-2023. Education Committee, ordinances 2876, 3090, 3389-2023. Public Utilities Committee, ordinances 1883, 2695, 3163, 3222, 3224, 3255, 3265, 3300, 3345, 3385, 3475-2023. Workforce Development Committee, ordinance 3446-2023. Building and Zoning Policy Committee, ordinances 3116, 3274, 3276-2023. Housing Committee, ordinances 3256, 3284, 3295, 3308, 3319, 3321, 3322, 3357, 3358, 3359, 3361, 3382, 3439, and 3469-2023. Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committee, ordinance 3334-2023. Health and Human Services Committee, ordinances 3179, 3260, 3400, 3411, 3431, 3451, 3489, 3561-2023. Public Safety Committee, ordinance 3253, 3268, 3375-2023. Environment Committee, ordinance 3457 and 3459-2023. Finance Committee, ordinances 2994, 3115, 3226, 3235, 3379, 3394, 3477, 3450, 3458, 3525, 3557, 3570-2023. Appointments from the Mayor's Office numbered A0, 193, 194, 195, 196, 197, 198, 199, 200, 201, 202, 203, 204, 205, 206, 207, 208, 209-2023. I'm finished. I'm done.
We have one speaker to come before council. That's Mr. Nate Wilkins. His mic fell.
1612 Arlington Avenue, Mr. Los Angeles, George Wilkins. I would like to speak in favor of this 3219 2023. I would like to know how long that the community land trust has been operating. Did that took over the county land bank or whatever the case may be? Will be suggesting more money for this, and let me tell you why. I will be questioning $1.9 million for 27 and a half years. The other amount will be questioned for $4.8 million. And let me say why is this. I don't know if it had to deal with the community land trust, doing to vacant and abandonment property, or doing empty commercial or vitalizing in buildings. I do believe as my knowledge, as I stand here time after time, I will be questioned for that kind of money is because this property has looked like this in Linden for quite some time. I do believe you have a land bank, and I believe it has changed over to the county land bank or the community land trust bank. The reason why I'm questioning for this money is because you have certain part of Ohio has significant property has been still standing X amount of years, over 120 years ago. Seems like some of this property has been torn down. Beginning with the property of 1592 on Myrtle Avenue, today it looks like a Habitat house. And so the reason why I'm questioning for this type of money, again, let me tell you the amount of money that I'm questioning for. Is $1.9 million for the next 27 and a half years. The other amount is $4.8 million for 38 and a half years. I'm tired of seeing different property has been made by different individuals, been torn down, been idolized and vacant for many times and many years ago, because I travel around town by quarter bus and see for different property has been built over 120 years ago. And to save those properties, we want to do something really different and unique in these properties. Linden is a unique opportunity. Hilltop is a unique opportunity. And it's time to look at different ideas and different strategies and ideas and different money amounts and figures and job opportunities. So again, I would like to know how long it's been in place for. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins. Director, would you follow up with that specific question and just ask at the end about the timing?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other questions or comments regarding the consent portion of the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Passed. We'll now proceed with the second reading of 30-day postponed and emergency legislation. The first committee to come before council is the Economic Development Committee, chaired by Councilmember Bangston. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President, and I will try to move swiftly through items in my committees this evening. First up in Economic Development Committee, for second read, we have Ordinance 2602-2023 to authorize the Director of Department of Development to enter into a dual-rate job growth incentive agreement with Wells Fargo Bank, N.A. for a term of up to 5 consecutive years in consideration of the company's proposal total capital investment of $3,250,000 and the creation of 350 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated annual payroll of approximately $43,750,000. This ordinance is a very exciting one. And I'm really excited about it. It demonstrates how competitive Columbus continues to be nationwide. As I'm sure you know, Wells Fargo is one of the nation's leading financial services companies, providing banking, insurance, trust and investments, mortgage banking, investment banking, retail banking, brokerage services, and consumer and commercial finance. They are requesting a 5-year dual-rate job growth incentive from the city and are proposing to invest a total project cost of approximately $6.1 million, which includes $2.5 million in machinery and equipment and $3.6 million in furniture and fixtures to establish a new technology center at Easton Town Center. With this investment, the company proposes to enter into a lease agreement on a vacant commercial office facility consisting of approximately 66,000 square feet at 3075 Loyalty Circle. The rate and terms are based on the number of new employees, whether the employees live in the city of Columbus, the investment amount, and the lease terms are different. So basically incentivizing those that live in the city of Columbus and incentivizing that employer to hire Columbus residents. The proposed project will allow Wells Fargo to expand into the Columbus region by creating a total of 585 net full-time permanent positions with a cumulative associated estimated annual payroll of approximately $73,125,000. And I know we have a long agenda tonight, but Director Stevens, I want to turn it over to you just to talk about the importance of this, especially given the environment for office and what this means for one of our second largest job centers, which is Easton.
Thank you, President Hardin, Chair Bankston, members of council. As we are continuing to come out of the pandemic and addressing the arrangements around workplace location, having an investment like this where these jobs will be on site every day is really important for the revenue that we are bringing in every day to the city.
Thank you, Director Stevens, for your team and all the work that you all put in. I know it took us a while to get here, but we're excited to have Wells Fargo here and again to continue to fill some of that vacant office space that we see. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Pass. Next, we have ordinance 2614-2023 to authorize the Director of Department of Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with G&J Pepsi Cola Bottlers, Inc. For a tax abatement for 75% for a period of 10 consecutive years in consideration of the enterprise investing approximately $18 million in real property improvements, the creation of 44 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated annual payroll of approximately $2,200,000, and the retention of 546 full-time permanent positions with an annual payroll of approximately $27,550,000 at the proposed project site. G&J Pepsi is a privately owned company comprised of 7 franchises, which distributes Pepsi Cola brand products in Athens, Columbus, Hamilton, Portsmouth, Ripley, and Zanesville, Ohio, and Lexington, Kentucky. The company distributes Pepsi brand products as well as other brands and is the largest family-owned and operated Pepsi franchise bottler right here in the city of Columbus. They are requesting an enterprise zone property tax abatement of 75% for a period of 10 consecutive years and are proposing to invest a total project cost of $25,525,000 for 3 different expansion phases, which includes $18,125,000 in new construction costs, $1.5 million in improvements to their existing facility, $4,450,000 in machinery and equipment, and $1,450,000 in furniture and fixtures. Additionally, G&J Pepsi will retain 546 full-time jobs with an annual payroll of approximately $27,588,250 and create 44 net new full-time permanent positions. The Columbus City School District is estimated to receive an additional $828,260 over the term of the abatement, in addition to what they are currently receiving, and approximately $4,141,384 over a 20-year period thanks to this investment. All of the jobs associated with this project are well over the $20 an hour minimum wage set by this council. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Passed. Next, we have ordinance 3081-2023 to authorize the Director of Department of Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Hub Investment One LLC for a tax abatement of 75% for a period of 10 consecutive years in consideration of the enterprise investing approximately $14 million in a new construction and creation of 18 net full-time permanent positions with an estimated annual payroll of approximately $1,088,605 at the proposed project site. Hub Investment is affiliated with Nair Properties, Inc., and is representative of both Nair Properties and Interstate Battery Systems of America, Inc. Founded in 1952, Interstate Batteries is powered by a distributor network of 300 wholesale warehouses with 150 dealers around the world. Hub Investment is requesting an enterprise zone agreement for 75% for 10 years with a project cost of approximately $14 million in real property investments to construct a 151,250 square foot build to suit Class A warehousing and distribution facility for Interstate Batteries, one of 3 eventually buildings in the development. The new warehousing and distribution facility will serve as a regional fulfillment center for Interstate Battery retailers. Interstate Battery Retailers is changing their fulfillment strategies and creating these regional fulfillment centers to support their increased growth. The new facility will create business operations not currently that are, this new facility will create business operations that are not currently established in Ohio. Additionally, the Hub Investment will create 18 net full-time jobs. Again, this is somewhat speculative. We know that these projects typically generate well over this amount of jobs, but because there are some speculative or proactive, sites being here, we want to make sure that we capture that number that we know for sure is going to be there. The Columbus City School District is estimated to receive an additional $63,970 in addition to what they are currently receiving from that property over the term of the abatement, and approximately $3,198,853 over a 20-year period thanks to this investment. And again, all the jobs associated with this project are over the $20 an hour minimum wage set by this council. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, we have ordinance 3371-2023 to amend the 2023 capital improvements budget to authorize the transfer of funds within the Development Taxable Bonds Fund, to authorize the Director of Department of Development to remit a portion of the public improvements grant to Columbus Franklin County Finance Authority for the North Market Project pursuant to the cooperative agreement dated August 29th, 2023, and to authorize the expenditure of $5 million for the public improvements for the North Market Project. As mentioned in the title, this ordinance transfers $5 million to the Columbus Franklin County Finance Authority for the North Market Project. This falls under the commitment made in the summer and does not represent any new funds for the project. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I'll move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed. Next, we have ordinance 3405-2023 to amend ordinance number 2356-98 as previously amended, and to amend ordinance number 2357-98 to adjust the boundaries and to extend the exemption periods an additional 30 years for improvements to certain parcels comprising the arena, off-site TIF, and the Penn site TIF pursuant to Ohio Revised Code sections 5709.51. This ordinance and ordinances 3407-2023 and ordinance 3408-2023, which were on consent, relate to a window of opportunity created by the General Assembly that allows us to extend the term of TIFs that meet certain requirements. Tax increment financing, or TIFs, is a tool that cities use to help finance development and infrastructure improvements in a community. A TIF effectively establishes a baseline on the property tax collected in a geographic boundary when it begins. Then, any new tax revenue growth above the baseline is exempted from the property taxes for a period of time, and the money from the resulting TIF fund may be invested into public infrastructure improvements within and around the boundaries. All City of Columbus TIFs within Columbus City Schools boundaries are non-school TIFs, meaning the school district receives the same tax revenue, including increases in the revenue, regardless of the TIF. This ordinance extends the Arena District off-site TIF and Penn site TIF, which run from 1999 to 2028 to run until 2058. This allows us to continue infrastructure improvements in partnership with NWD Investments, a private property owner within the district. It is also, I think, important to point out that these TIFs gives us the ability to keep up with our growth, to keep up with the infrastructure that is needed in critical areas of the city, while also alleviating capacity in our capital budget so that we can do more community projects around the city. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues on this ordinance? Seeing none, I move for passage by voice.
Second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bangston?
Yes.
Ms. Barosa de Padilla?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorans?
Yes.
Ms. Favor?
You recorded this President Pro Tem's?
I'm sorry?
You recorded the President Pro Tem's vote?
No. Ms. Favor? Mr. Remy? Yes. President Harden?
Yes. Pass.
Thank you. And next, this ordinance is associated with the one that we just read, Ordinance 3406-2023, to authorize the Director of Department of Development to amend and restate the amended and restated TIF reimbursement agreement dated as of October 31st, 2019, authorized by Ordinance number 2043-2019, as amended by Ordinance number 2932-2021, and to execute the second amended and restated TIF reimbursement agreement and NWD Investments LLC relating to the extension of certain tax increment financing areas within the Arena District, to authorize the Director of Department of Development to enter into one or more housing development agreement with NWD Investments LLC, and to authorize the appropriation, transfer, and/or expenditure of the service payments in lieu of taxes and property tax rollback payments from the TIFs under the second amended and restated TIF reimbursement agreement. Wow, that's a lot. I mean, that makes me feel like a lawyer reading all of that. So, as mentioned in the title, this ordinance amends and reinstates the TIF reimbursement agreements between the city and NWD Investments that was passed by this body in 2019. So again, we just extended the TIF. With TIFs come agreements that we put in place to ensure that we are getting the best benefit for the community. And so these amendments changes the agreements as we extend that TIF. And what the amendment agreement changes to is as follows. The city shares of annual TIF revenues will increase from 20% to 30% to pay for eligible projects within the Arena District and for neighborhood public improvements. The city's $20 million public infrastructure capital commitment will be reduced to $10 million. This will save the city $5 million in the capital budget in both 2024 and 2025. NWD will strive to also award and has committed to spending at least 30% of design and construction contracts on MWBEs for TIF-funded projects. Additionally, NWD has also committed to providing affordable housing opportunities within the TIF area. For each new unit built under the TIF agreement, NWD will set aside 10% of that number of units to be affordable for households earning 80% of the area median income and 10% of units of households earning 100% of the area median income. It is important to point out that where the Arena District TIF sits is in our downtown CRA, which does not have an affordability requirement. So this is another tool and a way for us to infuse affordability into high desirable places in our city to ensure that everyone is able to share in the city's success, but more importantly, be able to live where they work. In sum, these changes greatly improve the agreement and strengthen the city's ability to work towards priorities in capital projects, minority participation in construction and the trades, and the affordable housing crisis. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage by voice.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bangston?
Yes.
Ms. Barosa de Padilla?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorans?
No.
Ms. Favor? Mr. Remy?
Yes.
President Harden?
Yes. Ordinance is passed.
Thank you, Council President. May I go back to page 4 on tonight's agenda to read 3 ordinances that are on first read?
Please.
Thank you. Tonight on first read for Economic Development Committee, on your agendas in page 4, we have ordinance 3307-2023 to accept the application of Francisco Anya Communities LLC for the annexation of certain territories containing 22.7 plus or minus acres in Prairie Township. This ordinance and the following two ordinances are annexations that must be passed before the end of the year due to various legal requirements. Other than that, these are standard annexations. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I first move to waive second reading.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Waived.
And now I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, we have ordinance 3309-2023 to accept the application of Paul D. Atkins for the annexation of certain territories containing 1.463 plus or minus acres in Madison Township. Seeing no questions or comments from my colleagues, I first move to waive second reading.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Waived.
And now I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
And next, we have ordinance 3309-2023. Lastly, we have ordinance 3310-2023 to accept the application of Robert and Judy Johnson and William and Angela Lutz for the annexation of certain territories containing 9.504 plus or minus acres in Madison Township. I first move to waive second reading.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Waived.
And now I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Council President, may I move to the Technology Committee, please?
Please.
Thank you. Tonight in Technology Committee for second reading, we have ordinance 3135-2023 to authorize the Director of the Department of Finance and Management to authorize the Director of the Department of the Finance and Management Department on behalf of the Department of Technology to establish a purchase order with Brown Enterprise Solutions LLC, utilizing a state master cloud service agreement, MCSA 0016, for the procurement of various Adobe software application products through a large government agency agreement for the Department of Technology and various other city agencies, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of city code and to authorize the expenditure of $229,438.22 for the above described purpose. The City of Columbus has been utilizing the State of Ohio Adobe product STS for several years now, and pricing for the services was obtained via the State Master Cloud Service Agreement. City departments use Adobe software to improve efficiencies and enhance communications while meeting requirements such as HIPAA compliance. The two vendors approved to provide pricing through the State Master Cloud Service Agreement are Software House International and Brown Enterprises Solutions LLC. Brown's pricing overall was lower than that was submitted by SHI. Brown Enterprise Solutions is also a minority business enterprise that is Black-owned and operated. Because of the two bids that were received, the department requests a waiver of relevant sections of Chapter 329 of Columbus City Codes pertaining to competitive bidding. Seeing no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Second.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
And last in the Technology Committee, we have for second reading ordinance 3537-2023 to authorize the city clerk to enter into contract with AVI Systems, Inc. for City Hall conference room renovations, to amend the 2023 capital improvements budget, to authorize the appropriation, transfer, and expenditure of $165,907.13 within the general permanent improvement fund, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Codes, and to declare an emergency. Council members, now we all know the state of our conference room. And City Hall's, see, they're laughing because they know the state of our conference room. City Hall, largest and most utilized conference room, is in dire need of a technology upgrade, as most of the technology in the room has ceased to function. This ordinance authorizes the appropriation of the funds to aid in the restoring the conference room's functionality in a timely fashion. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
And Council President, I have one last ordinance on page 34 in Rules and Reference. May I move to the Rules and Reference Committee? In the Rules and Reference Committee this evening, we have ordinance number 3380-2023 to amend Chapter 3117 of the Columbus City Codes relative to the Historic Resource Commission to repeal and replace Section 3119.09 of the Columbus City Codes relative to the Brewery District Commission and Historic Resource Commission assumptions of jurisdiction over the Brewery District, and to amend Section 3119.21 of the Columbus City Codes relative to the Historic Resource Commission assumptions of jurisdiction over the Brewery District. This change is being made based off of the recommendations of city staff and is being done in partnership with the members of the Brewery District Commission. Due to a low number of applications received by the Brewery District Commission annually, it makes sense to have the Historic Resource Commission assume jurisdiction over the Brewery District. The district guidelines will still be maintained and followed. Review of applications will simply become the Historic Resource Commission's responsibility. Seeing no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Second.
Call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you, Council President. That's all I have in my committees this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Public Service and Transportation Committee, chaired by Councilman Rosa de Padilla. Councilman, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. I have one ordinance today in Public Service and Transportation. Ordinance 3167-2023 to appropriate funds within the Rocky Fork TIF Fund, Rocky Fork TIF Capital Fund, Preserve TIF Fund, Dublin Granville South TIF Fund, Dublin Granville North TIF Fund, and the Northeast Corridor Pay As We Grow Fund to authorize the city auditor to transfer cash between the Rocky Fork TIF Fund and the Rocky Fork TIF Capital Fund, to authorize the city auditor to transfer within the Preserve TIF Fund, Dublin Granville South TIF Fund, Dublin Granville North TIF Fund, and the Northeast Corridor Pay As We Grow Fund, to authorize the director of the Department of Public Service to enter into contract with Shelley and Sands Incorporated for the intersection improvements Dublin Granville Road at Yory Road project, and to authorize the expenditure of $4,542,549.31, split among the Rocky Fork TIF Fund, Rocky Fork TIF Capital Fund, Preserve TIF Fund, Dublin Granville South TIF Fund, Dublin Granville North TIF Fund, and the Northeast Corridor Pay As We Grow Fund for the project. Say that 20 times fast. The project will widen Dublin Granville Road at the intersection of Yory Road to provide an eastbound left turn lane and a westbound right turn lane. Improvements will include the replacement of the existing strain pole traffic signal, a sidewalk, a shared use path, which we love, street trees, curb, storm sewer, and street lighting. Stormwater treatment will be required for the project. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
May I move to Neighborhoods, Immigrant, Migrant, and Refugee Committee? Thank you. We have one ordinance today. It is Ordinance 3552-2023 to authorize the city clerk to enter into a grant agreement with Alvis Incorporated to support their family and children's program, to authorize an appropriation and expenditure within the Neighborhood Initiative Subfund, and to declare an emergency. Alvis offers comprehensive human services to meet the needs of some of our most vulnerable members of our community. Founded in 2014, the Family and Children's Program serves families impacted by incarceration and addiction. Councilmember Brown, as the sponsor of this ordinance, is there anything that you would like to add?
I just want my colleagues to go along with the program. Thank you.
Short and sweet. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Great. Then I move for passage by voice.
Clerk, please call the row.
Mr. Bangston. Ms. Barosa de Padilla.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Dorans. Ms. Faber. Mr. Remy. President Harden.
Yes. Pass.
Thank you. That's all for me this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next committee coming before council is the Recreation and Parks Committee, chaired by Councilmember Brown. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. This evening I have two ordinances in Rec and Parks. Ordinance 3186, 2023, to authorize the Director City Auditor to set up a certificate in the amount of $1,868,395 for the purchase of equipment for the Recreation and Parks Department, to authorize and direct the Director of the Department of Director of Finance and Management to enter various contracts for the purchase of equipment on behalf of the Recreation and Parks Department, to authorize the appropriation of $40,000 within the Recreation and Parks Permanent Improvement Fund, to authorize the transfer of $1,868,395 within the Recreation and Parks Voted Bond Fund and Permanent Improvement Fund, to authorize the amendment of the 2023 capital improvement budget, and to authorize the expenditure of $1,868,395 from the Recreation and Parks Voted Fund and Permanent Improvement Fund. This ordinance will allow the city to seek competitive bids to support the purchase of parks, building maintenance, golf, and sports equipment to support the department's operation. Do any of my colleagues have any questions? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Also, I have ordinance 3193, 2023, to authorize the Director of Recreation and Parks to enter into various contracts for management of the Urban Forestry Master Plan, to authorize and direct the city auditor to establish auditor certificates in the amount of $2 million for various expenditures in conjunction with the management of the Urban Forestry Master Plan, to authorize and direct the Director of Finance and Management to enter various contracts for the purchase of equipment on behalf of the Recreation and Parks Department, to authorize the transfer of $1,950,796.46 within the Recreation and Parks Voted Bond Fund, to authorize the amendment of the 2023 capital improvements budget, and to authorize the expenditure of $2 million from the Recreation and Parks Voted Bond Fund. This ordinance will establish the auditor certificates on authorized expenditures in conjunction with the management of the Urban Forestry Master Plan. Contracts will be entered into in compliance with the relevant provisions of the Columbus City Code, Chapter 329. However, this legislation will set up all of the funding required to enter contracts with vendors on an as-needed basis. All purchases will be through competitive bidding, though any current universal term contract or through any current Ohio State purchasing contract pre-approved by the City of Columbus. If there are no questions, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Council President, if I may I move to rules of reference?
Please, sir.
Thank you. Make sure I have the right page here. On page 34, and I have ordinance 2800 to amend the code chapter 912 trees and shrubs by repealing and replacing the chapter in its entirety and to supersede provisions in Executive Order and 2015-01 Tree Protection and Mitigation Policy. These public tree code changes are a culmination of a 2-year effort by the Recreation and Parks Department, specifically the Forestry and Planning Team, who worked diligently with all city project departments and community stakeholders to bring forward public tree code changes that reflect the commitment we made as a city to stop net canopy loss by 2030. In 2021, the Urban Forestry Master Plan. I am pleased with the department's engagement efforts and would like to thank them for their dedication in meeting the goals of the Urban Forestry Master Plan. I would like to also ask my colleague, Councilman Remy, who is involved with the environmental program before I had the responsibility, who's co-sponsoring this legislation. Councilmember?
Thank you so much, Councilmember Brown. As chair of the Environment Committee, I've greatly enjoyed being an advocate for trees and partner of the Columbus Recreation and Parks Department, along with our external partners who grow, plant, and protect trees in our community. The Urban Forestry Master Plan started in October of 2019. It was published in April of 21. It is a strategic long-term plan for the city and community to use as a guide. The public tree code amendments in front of us today is just one piece of this plan, but an important step that has been 4 years in the making. Trees on public property also known as any tree owned and cared for by the City of Columbus, should be protected during construction or times of disease, pruned and cared for appropriately, and when the need for a tree to be removed arrives, there is a strong enforceable plan to replace this tree. I want to say thanks to our partners in Recreation and Parks for putting this legislation forward, and to our nonprofit partners that help us advance this work every day. This is an important step in modernizing our public tree code in the City of Columbus, and I am proud to co-sponsor this legislation this evening. Thank you so much, Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Councilman Remy. I would now like to turn it over to Director Reese, whose staff members are still here. Thank you for continuing to remain. Director Reese, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden, Chair Brown, other council members. Just to give a little bit more information, and if there's further information that's needed, there are staff members that could explain this in further detail. But the vision of the urban forestry and the purpose of the tree code is to prioritize, preserve, and grow the tree canopy here in Columbus, equitably across neighborhoods to improve the health and the quality of life for all residents. The code changes require a public tree plan, requires mitigation for public tree removal, inch for inch, fee in lieu of a combination, or has an appeals process. That was the most important thing, that it does have an appeals process. It also refers to the list of prohibited and approved tree species. The Columbus Recreation and Parks has conducted over 68 meetings internally and externally with partners, as well as a public hearing through City Council on September 14th. From those meetings, we've made multiple modifications to both the code and the tree technical manual. So we are requesting at this time that you pass this legislation. Thank you, Jim Brown.
Thank you, Director Reese. We've had Rosalie and Steve be here as long as they have. We can't let them not talk. Rosalie?
Good evening, members of council, President Harden, Chair Brown, Councilmember Remy, Pro Tem Brown. It's just so great, Dorrance. I'm excited to be here with you. Really excited. It was amazing to hear the resolutions earlier because, Chair Brown, you are such a force, and it was a true honor for our department to work with you on getting this code done. Thank you for everything you did to make it happen for us. We appreciate all the support of council. Councilmember Remy, you've been with us from the beginning, back in March of 2020, and probably one of the last crowded rooms we were all standing in with our open house on the Urban Forestry Master Plan. So thank you. I'm really honored and humbled to be here. Rosalie Hendon, I'm sorry, I should have started with that. I'm with Recreation and Parks. And I led the Urban Forestry Master Plan, and I've continued to be involved in its implementation. Steve Horhet is behind me. He's our city forester. Couldn't have done this without all of the staff, your leadership, the mayor's office support, Director Reese, and other departments were really instrumental in this code as well as community leaders. So all of us worked together. It was really collaborative to bring this code to you today. Our goal is to protect the trees that grow on our land, on our city-owned properties. We had code already. This is modernizing it. This is making it really just strengthening the protections that we have. The biggest change, like Chair Brown said, is really to codify tree mitigation. So if we have to lose a public tree that would have otherwise lived and would have continued to provide benefits to residents, what do we do in that case? This code ensures that we remain whole and we don't experience a loss of tree canopy. Again, these are trees that are serving our residents. They may be the street tree in front of their apartment building, may be the only tree they really have access to, or the trees in their parks. So thank you for considering this code. It's truly thinking towards the future. And for your continued support of the trees growing here in Columbus. We will be back for more code changes, which will be probably more challenging. But thank you for for your support and consideration of this code, and really the evolution of our city being more resilient, walkable, and vibrant. Thank you.
Rosalie, before you leave, how many trees are we talking about?
We have 125,000 street trees that Recreation and Parks manages. We've inventoried over 20,000 in our parks, but of course we have a lot of woods and that we're not going and counting each individual tree. So
125,000 trees.
street trees.
Thank you. I'd also like to ask Ms. Shelley Douglas from the Green Columbus to make a few comments.
Hello, council members.
Yes.
President Harden, thanks so much for giving me time to speak even in your very busy agenda. I'd like to say a few words in support of the drafted public tree code. I'm here tonight wearing many hats. I am the executive director of Green Columbus. I am the chair of the Central Ohio Watershed Council. I'm a resident of Southern Orchards, and I'm also extremely concerned, terrified young professional who turns just 25 later this month.
Oh my goodness.
And normally, we like to keep it fun and lighthearted here at Green Columbus, but the extreme inequity of our urban tree canopy here is no joking matter. Not only should we be fiercely protecting our mature trees on our existing land, we should continue to plant new trees and protect our communities from the impending impacts of climate change. To the community members who I represent here tonight, we are urging you to support and pass the drafted public tree code so that Columbus can make progress towards our goals in both the Urban Forestry Master Plan and the Columbus Climate Action Plan, both of which begin with a signed letter of commitment from our very own Mayor Ginther himself, urging for public support. In the Urban Forestry Master Plan, this is Action 15, Improve Public Tree Protection Ordinance. In the Climate Action Plan, this is Action 6.1, Reduce Urban Heat with Tree Canopy Cover. And the goals there are to invest equitable canopy across all neighborhoods by 2030, stop tree canopy net losses by 2030, and 40% citywide tree canopy by 2050. We're currently only at 22% citywide. I may have stated these facts in front of you before, but I fear that the message is too important to ignore. With the fastest growing urban heat island in the country, located here in Columbus, Ohio, the number of days over 90 degrees will triple by 2050. Heat waves are already the leading cause of weather-related death in the United States now. A 2022 study in Columbus showed that neighboring communities may be up to 14 degrees different in temperature due to tree canopy. Heat can cause organ failure, heart attack, kidney failure in both healthy and vulnerable populations. However, most U.S. heat deaths occur in poor, minority, and marginalized communities. Communities with less trees have higher rates of asthma, heart disease, and stroke. And the U.S. Department of Agriculture has found that a 10% increase in trees leads to a 12% decrease in violent crime. Knowing that trees provide benefits not only to our environment, but our human health, both physical and mental, can we really afford to move backwards or become stagnant? Can we afford to lose any more trees to development? At the end of the day, only 30% of our city's tree canopy exists on public land. That means beyond this 30% that we're discussing right now, there is 70% of our urban canopy left unprotected from development and removal. While many of our surrounding neighbors like Gahanna and Dublin have already implemented a private tree code, we're still just talking about this 30% of the public trees here tonight. So we have a lot of work to do. And with the population boom predicted for Central Ohio, it's really scary to consider the future climate and conditions if trees do not become valued as an essential and critical component to human health and resilient communities. And we are asking you to side with your local nonprofits, your community advocates, and your environmental leaders to protect our public tree canopy. So thank you very much.
Ms. Douglas, thank you very much. I think may not realize it yet, but trees are very, very important in our community, given what you already said about the climate change. People aren't paying close attention, not yet, but they will. So thank you very much for coming down this evening.
Thank you.
If there are no additional questions, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
And the last ordinance I have, sir, is to repeal chapters 923 and 924 and 2111 of the Columbus City Codes and adopt a new chapter 923 to create uniform requirements for events conducted on public property to be administered by the Recreation and Parks Department, and I move to refer to committee.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Referred to committee.
That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Next committee to come before council is the Public Utilities Committee, chaired by Council President Pro Tem. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. First, we have in Public Utilities Committee Ordinance 3128-2023 to authorize the Director of Department of Public Utilities to win a construction contract with Shelley & Sands, Inc. for Roosevelt Drive Area Water Line Improvements Project, to authorize amendment to the 2023 capital improvement budget, to authorize transfer of funds from the Water Reserve Fund to the Water Freshwater Market Rate Fund, to authorize the appropriation of funds, and to authorize the expenditure of up to $3,746,932.40 from the Water Freshwater Market Rate Fund and the Water Bond Fund. The goal of this project is replace or rehabilitate the existing water lines that have high break frequency in the Mideast planning area. Replacing these water lines will improve water service, decrease burden on maintenance operations, and reduce water loss. Do my colleagues have questions, comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3200-2023 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into a professional service agreement with GPD Group for the 69-2 Circuit Improvement Project, to authorize amendment to the 2023 capital improvement budget, to authorize transfer of cash and appropriations between and within the Electricity Bond Fund, and to authorize expenditure of up to $1,526,280.03 from the Electricity Bond Fund to pay for the contract. This project will construct a more resilient and reliable power distribution system that will result in fewer power interruptions to customers on these circuits, which will minimize any economic impacts due to power outages. The improvements to the circuit will provide a reliable path for power to be transmitted from solar fields on the south end of town to the core of the Division of Power service territory. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, I have ordinance 3237-2023 to authorize the Director, Department of Public Utilities to enter a contract modification with Prime Construction Management and Survey, Inc. for the Construction Administration Contract Inspection Services 2023-2025 contract, to authorize an amendment to the 2023 capital improvement budget, to authorize transfer of cash and appropriation with the Sanitary Bond Fund, to authorize an expenditure of $1,204,608.25 split between the Water Bond Fund and the Sanitary Bond Fund for the modification. This work will ensure the department's construction projects are performed correctly and will last the anticipated service life. Do any of my colleagues have questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3299-2023 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into a construction contract with Complete General Construction Company for the inflow redirection Markinson hydraulic modifications to combine sewer overflow regular Markinson and Wilson Avenue waterline improvement project, to authorize amendment to the 2023 capital improvement budget, to authorize the appropriation transfer of funds from the Sanitary Sewer Reserve Fund to Sanitary Revolving Loan Fund, to authorize the appropriation of funds within the Sanitary Revolving Loan Fund, to authorize expenditure of up to $30,451,881.42 from the Sanitary Revolving Loan Fund, the Sanitary Bond Fund, and the Water Bond Fund to pay for the project and declare an emergency. The work for this contract consists of more than 19,000 new storm sewers of various sizes, 209 structures, and more than 5,700 feet of new water mains of various sizes, and more on the city's south side that will mitigate the Markinson combined sewer basin. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3339-2023 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter a service contract with the Continental Office Furniture Corporation and the DJ Bradley Company to use cubicles and furniture with the configuration and installation of cubicles and furniture, to waive the formal bidding requirements of Columbus City Codes, to authorize submission of up to $200,000 from the Department of Division of Water Fund to pay for the contract and declare an emergency. The intent of this project is to provide adequate office space accommodations for expanding workforce within the Division of Water. Emergency action is requested to expedite these contracts to complete the project in a timely manner and to provide adequate office space accommodations for current and new employees. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3346-2023 to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Utilities to enter into a construction contract with Trafco Construction, Inc. and John Irmo & Sons, Incorporated for the 2024 water main repairs project, to authorize amendment to the 2023 capital improvement budget, to authorize transfer of cash and appropriation between projects within the Water Bond Fund, to authorize expenditure of up to $1,574,527.75 for the project and declare an emergency. These contracts provide assistance to our water line maintenance crews in completing water main break repairs and timely manner should the number of breaks exceed our normal maintenance capacities. Emergency designation is requested for this ordinance because the contract must be in place before cold weather arrives when most water main breaks occur. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3362-2023 to authorize the Finance and Management Director into a contract with OW Investor LLC doing business as Mars Company for the upgrade, maintenance, and support of an existing Mars meter test bench system on behalf of the Division of Water to waive the competitive bidding provision of the Columbus City Codes, to authorize expenditure of $154,940 from the Water Operating Fund and declare an emergency. These test benches are to facilitate the certification of water meters used for billing purposes by the city's water distribution system. Emergency action is requested due to the critical nature of the contract and the need to establish a purchase order before the end of the year. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3364-2023 to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Utilities to modify and increase the contract with Ascensions Construction Solutions LLC for the Department of Public Utilities Wastewater Treatment Facilities Professional Construction Management Services Project, to authorize amendment to the 2023 capital improvement budget, to authorize the transfer of funds and appropriations between projects in the sanitary bond fund, to authorize the expenditure of up to $17,952 and $267 within the sanitary bond fund to pay for the contract modification declared emergency. The performance of professional contract management services will help to prevent or reduce the number of construction claims, provide quality control for construction, and minimize any unavoidable claims. Emergency designation is requested in order to prevent a lapse in construction management services. A lapse in construction management services will result in construction being halted on several projects, creating delays for the city. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Council President, may I move on to the Workforce Development Committee?
Please.
Thank you. There we have ordinance 3532-2023 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter in a grant agreement with Rickenbacker Woods Technology Museum and Historic Park, doing business as Rickenbacker Woods Foundation, the amount of up to $200,000 in support of the creators, originators, and innovators of Tomorrow Workforce Initiative, to authorize the transfer of $200,000 between the citywide account and the Department of Development, to authorize the payment for reasonable food and non-alcoholic beverages for participants of programs, including the grant agreement, to authorize the advancement of funds on a predetermined schedule during the term of the agreement, to authorize the reimbursement of non-food and non-beverage expenditures incurred prior to the establishment of a purchase order, to authorize the expenditure of $200,000 from the general fund and declare emergency. The Rickenbacker Woods Foundation, creators, originators, and innovators of Tomorrow Workforce Initiative, empowers youth of Columbus with essential skills and knowledge in fields of engineering, art, technology, design, media, and architecture. The initiative is entering its second year and aims to provide high school students in the city of Columbus with opportunities to engage in meaningful workforce development activities. The program will operate from January of 2024 through June of 2024, 3 days a week, allowing interns to gain hands-on experience and valuable exposure in their areas of interest. Emergency action is requested to immediately provide for resources necessary to begin the program in a timely manner in January of next year. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And Council President, with your permission, I'd like to return to the Public Utilities Committee that legislation we have on first reading portion of our agenda on page 5.
Please.
Thank you. There we have ordinance 2476-2023 to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Utilities to enter into a grant agreement with the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission to provide funding and support for the 2023 Water Resources Program, to authorize expenditure of $60,000 split among the sanitary sewer, water, and stormwater operating funds, to authorize the city auditor to transfer funds between object classes within each of these funds to support the expense. The 2023 Water Resources Program supports regional water resources protecting by promoting regional collaboration among water and wastewater utilities, watershed, and other environmental groups in agriculture and rural communities. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I first move to waive second reading.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Waived.
Thank you. And now I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, I have ordinance 3314-2023 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter a construction contract with CDM Smith, Inc. for the Stormwater and Sanitary Remote Site Communication Network Upgrades projects, to authorize amendment to the 2023 capital improvement budget, to authorize transfer of cash and appropriation within the Stormwater Bond Fund and with the Sanitary Bond Fund, and to authorize expenditure of up to $97,757 from the Stormwater Bond Fund and the expenditure of up to $320,881 from the Sanitary Bond Fund to pay for the project. The performance of these project activities to provide specialized professional engineering services is needed to ensure that all 95, the Division of Sewers and Drainage Sites, continue to be an integral part of the stormwater and sanitary collection systems. Do my colleagues have any questions, comments? Seeing none, I first move to waive second reading.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Waived.
And next, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3330-2023 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to modify and increase the contract with Hatch Associates Consultants, Inc. for the Short Circuit Coordination and Arc Flash Studies Number 1 project, to authorize amendment to the 2023 capital improvement budget, and to authorize expenditure of up to $350,000 from the Sanitary Bond Fund to pay for the contract modification. This project will provide a safer working environment for plant personnel by updating arc flash rating nameplates as required by OSHA, and will reduce nuisance tripping of electrical equipment. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I first move to waive second reading.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Waived.
And I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3335-2023 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to modify and increase the contract with Hatch Associates Consultants, Inc. for the SWWTP power system upgrade and the safety improvements project, to authorize amendment to the 2023 capital improvement budget, to authorize transfer of cash and appropriation from the Sanitary Bond Fund, and to authorize expenditure of up to $720,000 within the Sanitary Bond Fund to pay for the contract modification. This project will replace equipment that has passed its useful life or has no longer meets the electrical loads required by the plant. Replacing this equipment will reduce the amount of maintenance required to keep the plant operational, as well as reducing the number of electrical safety problems. Do my colleagues have questions or comments? Seeing none, I first move to waive second reading.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you.
Waived.
Thank you. I now move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3347-2023 to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Utilities to enter construction contract with the Amberg Electrical Corporation for the Noah Bixby Road Street Lighting Improvement Project, to authorize amendment to the 2023 capital improvement budget, to authorize the transfer of cash and appropriation with the Electricity Bond Fund, and to authorize the expenditure of up to $422,000, $179.32 for the project. The installation and conversion to LED lighting within the project area will provide both an additional sense of security and safety to residents, while providing a higher efficient type of light. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage. Or, sorry, I first move to waive second reading.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Waived.
Thank you. I now move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3348-2023 to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Utilities to modify and increase the contract with Corda Engineering, Inc. for the Department of Public Utilities Archive and Record Storage Project, to authorize expenditure of up to $360,000, $230.52 within the Sanitary Bond Fund to pay for the contract modification. This project will consolidate all of DPU's archives and records from all sections into a centralized location, which will have many benefits, in addition to providing centralized staff who are experts in locating and storing documents for the department. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I first move to waive second reading.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Waived.
And finally, move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
And finally, we have ordinance number 3492-2023 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to modify an existing water services contract and sewer contract with Franklin County, Ohio, for the provision of water of sewer service to certain properties within Perry Township in order to adjust the boundaries of the service area under those agreements to align with the adjusted boundaries of the existing annexation agreement between the city and Perry Township. This legislation authorizes the Director of Public Utilities to modify the existing water and sewer contracts entered into with Franklin County on August 4th, 2020. Ordinance number 0330-2020 authorizes the city to contract with Franklin County for the purposes of allowing the county to make water and sewer service available to certain parcels in Perry Township, Franklin County, Ohio, in furtherance of the city and Perry Township annexation agreement. The annexation agreement between Perry Township and the city was later modified on November 24, 2021, to adjust the boundaries of properties subject to the annexation agreement and eligible for water and sanitary sewer service without annexation to the city of Columbus. It is currently necessary to amend the existing agreement for water and sewer services between Franklin County and the city to adjust the boundaries of the service area under those agreements to align with the adjusted boundaries of the annexation agreement as modified. Do any of my colleagues have questions or comments? Seeing none, I first move to waive second reading.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Waived.
I now move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you, Council President. That's all I have in my committees this evening.
Awesome. The next committee come before council is the Housing Committee, chaired by Councilmember Favor. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President Harden. Tonight in Housing, we have Ordinance 3413-2023 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a contract with Jonathan Barnes Architecture and Design in support of architectural design services that will be used to aid in the accessory dwelling unit pilot program for Columbus residents, to authorize an expenditure from the Development Taxable Bond Fund, to authorize expenditures prior to the purchase order, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of Columbus City Codes, to repeal Ordinance 2814-2023, and to declare an emergency. As Columbus continues to grow, housing affordability and supply issues will continue to worsen if we do not take a concerted effort to stem off these issues before they grow. Accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, provide an opportunity to increase the housing supply, provide financial stability for owners, and can be leveraged to increase affordable housing. ADUs have the opportunity to positively impact a number of Columbus residents, including aging residents, looking to downsize but stay in their neighborhood, retirees on fixed incomes needing extra income to cover their mortgage, homeowners looking for real estate investments, young professionals without families, and people with disabilities that can have their own living space but still be close to family support. The overall economic impact of ADUs is that they will increase the supply of studio and one-bedroom options in Columbus. Columbus City Council approved Ordinance 231-2023 on February 6, 2023, authorizing an agreement with Jonathan Barnes Architecture and Design in an amount up to $125,000. The term of their agreement expired on October 31st, 2023. In order to complete the services, a new agreement is desired with a start date of November 1st, 2023, and an amount not to exceed $50,000. This is one of 2023 council housing initiatives and is being spearheaded by Councilmember Remby's office. Councilman Remy, do you have anything you'd like to offer?
Thank you very much, Councilmember Favor. I just want to reiterate how important this ADU pilot is. It's such an important part of the overall council housing strategy, and our hope is that it's successful. Further underline that we need creative, adaptive, and accessible solutions to address our housing shortage. This legislation is getting us there, and so we need more housing of all kinds. We all know this in the city of Columbus for our seniors that need a little help from their family now and then, housing for our new families who aren't quite ready to make that first big purchase, and even housing that can provide extra financial support for our residents in need. And I believe that the ADU, the accessory dwelling units, have the capability to address all of these needs and more. I remain excited to be a part of it and help leading this charge, and I'm happy to help support additional funding to make this program reality. Thank you, Councilmember Favor, for your partnership on this, and I know we are looking forward to being able to share more on this pilot very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Remy. Any additional questions or comments at this time? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second. Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Council President, I would like to request to take Ordinance 3447 in 2023 and rules and references out of order and read it now.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 3447, 2023, and rules and references to repeal and replace existing Chapter 4565 of the Columbus City Codes, to incorporate certain administrative modifications, and to enact Section 4565-10 of the Columbus City Codes to provide a waiver process related to affordability requirements for owner-occupied housing units. In 2016 and 2017, the City of Columbus commissioned a study from the HR&A on the effectiveness of the city's economic development incentives, including real property tax abatements in community reinvestment areas. Based on the result of the study, the city revised its policies concerning residential tax incentives and decided to encourage the development of affordable housing by conditioning the provision of residential tax incentives in certain circumstances on the inclusion of affordable housing. In July of 2018, City Council passed ordinance number 2184-2018, adopting Chapter 4565 of the Columbus City Codes to require certain entities seeking residential tax incentives to meet affordable housing requirements, of which are based upon where the project being constructed is designated as market ready, ready for revitalization, or ready for opportunity. Generally speaking, the area designations reflect the extent to which housing within the geographic vicinity is blighted. Development projects located in areas with less blight must satisfy higher affordable housing requirements in order to receive the abatement. The area designation assigned to each community reinvestment area is required to be assessed every 3 years to ensure residential tax incentives are offered according to the most recently available data. It's no secret that Columbus and the surrounding region is facing a housing crisis. We are severely underbuilding housing units, although we continue to welcome about 44 new people each day to the region. Currently, we are building 12,000 new homes a year, but need to double this number to keep up with the demand. This supply and demand issue, in turn, is causing prices to rise and outpricing our neighbors that have called Columbus home for generations. We need to create policies that invest in and incentivize building more housing units of all types, from market rate to permanent supportive housing. The goal of a community reinvestment area is neighborhood revitalization and stabilization, with the aim of this particular piece of legislation to be just one avenue in which the city addresses the rising housing costs by reducing the burden to build housing stock within Columbus. I understand that the topic of using the community reinvestment area policy as a tool to incentivize affordable housing development is not always popular and can bring out polarizing opinions. No policy is perfect, but the CRAs, when updated in 2022, made significant changes, incentivizing more housing units with additional affordability requirements. This includes the removal of the abatement for market rate new construction or rehab single-family homes, enforce deeper and wider affordability, increase the fee in lieu option significantly, and a yearly escalation of this fee in lieu option. This code change will adopt certain administrative modifications to Chapter 4565 and enact new Section 4565.10 to provide for a process whereby the affordable housing requirements for owner-occupied housing may be waived, first through an application to the Director of the Department of Development with a right to appeal to the Community Reinvestment Area Housing Council, pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Sections 3735.69 through 3735.70. Tonight we have Assistant Director of Housing Strategies, Aaron Prosser, with us. Director Prosser, can you please share the background of what got us here and why this is important to the administration and in addressing the housing crisis?
Yes, thank you, Chair Favor, President Hardin, members of council. Following the update in 2022 of the affordability requirements for the residential tax incentive policy, the Department of Development was asked to review how we were administering the policy, which had not been included in either the 2018 or 2022 updates. And we were asked to determine if it's effective at meeting our current housing challenges and accurately reflect the market conditions in our neighborhood, if it's being applied equitably, and finally, is it aligned with our other city policies and priorities. And the answers to all three, through both economic and demographic analysis, was a resounding no. Our rents are not high enough to overcome the increasing cost of building new housing, and therefore we're seeing a significant slowdown in new projects getting built. We will build less in the city and the region than we did last year. However, we're not seeing a slowdown in the number of people and families moving to Central Ohio. We are quickly approaching a future where there are not enough places for people to live because the new residents are vastly outpacing the development of new housing. Secondly, the existing CRAs are based on out-of-date and overly large area boundaries, some drawn decades ago, and they were only focused in areas that had experienced historic disinvestment. But the outcome now is that both the housing supply and the affordable housing will be focused only in those communities, leaving wealthier parts of the city off the hook. Finally, as we make investments in modernizing our zoning code, upgrading our transportation and transit system, and creating jobs, we want to be sure that our primary inclusive housing tool we have can be leveraged to bring affordable housing near to those investments. Therefore, the Development Department recommends the expansion of the residential tax incentive and the creation of a single Columbus Housing Community Reinvestment Area to address the challenges and inequities of the current administration of the policy and meet the housing challenge we face as a growing city. The proposal was shared with City Council, with stakeholder groups, and with the community at 2 council public hearings. A number of community partners testified in support of the policy proposal and shared their experience, their expertise, and the challenges they face in bringing all kinds of housing to Columbus. These partners included experts serving those in our community experiencing homelessness, affordable housing developers, and 2 of our emerging developers, minority-owned small businesses working against the incredible headwinds to build new homes so that our existing and growing population will have a place to live. In a few short years, we're going to be asked if we acted when we saw the initial impacts of the housing shortage, when we knew that the number of individuals and families experiencing homelessness was increasing, when rents and home prices were rising beyond what was affordable for working families, and when we saw the increasing housing instability and exploitation of vulnerable people. Unlike our peer cities, in Columbus, we will be able to answer in the affirmative. We're going to rely on data and evidence-based practices to ensure that there are enough places to live in the city and in our region so that every family can afford to live in the neighborhood of their choice.
Thank you, Director Prosser, and we especially appreciate the work of the department as we continue to collectively work to address our housing issues in Columbus. Do my colleagues have any questions for Director Prosser or comments at this time? Councilmember Bankston.
One, thank you, Councilmember Favor, for all your work on this, and Council President Harden for championing this. I just wanted to make sure that it's on record so that we set the record straight. With this new expansion, just to be clear, because I think there's a misconception that anything that is built just automatically receives this incentive. But just to clarify, there is still an application process that exists if you want to take advantage of any type of incentive. Is that correct?
Correct. There needs to be not only the application, but the investment in the property, either in renovation of existing buildings or in the development of new housing. The abatement would then be applied simply to the value of that investment. The original tax burden on that property would remain, and we would simply be looking to offset the increase in taxes on the investment made. We also have not just that initial application, but an annual compliance process to ensure that that ongoing affordability requirement is being met. If at any point that compliance is not met, that abatement would be revoked. So that is an ongoing process through the 15 years because the units are not just less expensive, they are income restricted and protected. So they are not only just less expensive, but go to families within those income brackets to make sure that that housing is available in those high opportunity areas.
Thank you. And I just want to make sure that's clarified. And then also just to clarify, and again, thank Councilmember Favor of closing that loophole that even in the single family side of things, there's an affordability that's tied to that as well, correct?
Correct. That was a really critical update that was made by Councilmember Favor in the 2022 update, that in an owner-occupied situation in both market-ready and ready for revitalization, that homeowner or condo owner or duplex owner must have an income below 120% of area median income. That aligns with a lot of partners that provide that affordable home ownership opportunity, including the Land Trust, as well as our partners at Homeport. So it aligns with their income requirements so that the program is still available for those partners, but it is no longer available at that market rate single-family home construction.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Bankston. Any additional questions or comments at this time?
Chair,
Yes.
I too would just like to say thank you for your leadership and guidance for making the legislation and the process better by making sure that there was a public process to have engagement. And I thought that the 2 public hearings that we had on this were very, very engaged. Some of the longer midday hearings I've had in my 10 years on council. And to the department, I'm really grateful. I think at the end of the day, with this piece of legislation, the CRA expansion is about is making sure that we have every tool in the toolbox at our disposal. And just really grateful for all the work that's been done so far.
Thank you, Council President Harden. And just to underscore, we talk a lot about the toolbox. This is just one of those tools. It's not, we're not putting all of our eggs in just this basket. to incentivize development and specifically incentivize affordable housing development. There are a lot of different initiatives, many of which we have talked about today, and ideas that the department is also pursuing at this time. So just for our listening audience, know that this is not the only policy that we are strategizing around, but we are being intentional about exploring all different types of solutions to address the growing needs of our community. With that, I'd move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3448-2023 to create the Columbus Housing Community Reinvestment Area to authorize real property tax exemptions as authorized by Chapter 3735 of the Ohio Revised Code, to provide that the city's existing Community Reinvestment Area Housing Council shall serve as the housing council for the CHCRA, to designate the housing administrator as the housing officer for the CHCRA, and to repeal various ordinances establishing or amending currently existing community reinvestment areas that will be absorbed into the boundary of the CHCRA. The goal of a community reinvestment area is neighborhood revitalization and stabilization, with the aim of this particular piece of legislation to be just one avenue in which the city addresses the rising housing costs by reducing the burden to build housing stock within Columbus. This ordinance will create the Columbus Housing Community Reinvestment Area and provide for real property tax exemptions. The ordinance will provide for exemptions from increases in real property taxation resulting from the construction of new housing, the conversion of buildings from commercial use to residential use, and the renovation of existing single and multifamily housing units with establishing boundaries. Assistant Director Prosser, I believe we have an amendment to this legislation.
We do. We have an amendment as we were going. Helpful if I turn the microphone on. Many of the existing commercial CRA areas that we included in the current legislation were developed exclusively with either commercial or industrial uses, and a lot of them are built out. However, with the Hamilton Road and 161 commercial CRA, we started to take a look at that area because there is a mix of both commercial, industrial, as well as some residential projects, and we were made aware of a number of housing developments that were planned in the area that using this tool we could go ahead and unlock and get those units into that community. And so we're offering an amendment to be proposed to the legislation to include the Hamilton and 161 commercial CRA into the new Columbus Housing Commercial Reinvestment Area. The projects that we're aware of to date total more than 700 units. And as we look at where we are deficient this year, what we won't build this year compared to last year, it's about 632 units. So that 700 units is really meaningful, and we thought it was worth bringing to you that amendment. It allows that residential incentive to expand into the area and will more quickly bring housing near that significant economic development projects. And allow our affordable partners to develop there as well. This will allow workforce to live near their employment in housing they can afford, which is a critical economic development imperative, as well as one that furthers the equitable access to affordable housing near employment opportunities.
Thank you. Are there questions for Director Prosser at this time? Seeing none, I would move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
And now I'd like to move for passage as amended.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Thank you. We have next ordinance we have is 3449-2023 to amend ordinance number 3221-2028 as amended by ordinance 3169-2022 for the purpose of changing the Department of Development Economic Development's division fee schedule for fees that support the department's administrative and project costs associated with administering department programs. Through the use of targeted programs and incentives, the Department of Development has encouraged the development of affordable housing, the creation of new and retained jobs, leveraged private investment, and the enforcement of the city code. Fee schedules have been developed for the following divisions within the Department of Development: Economic Development, Housing, Land Redevelopment. An amendment is needed for the purpose of changing the Department of Development Economic Development Division's fee schedule. This amendment to Ordinance 3221-2028 will enable the department to update its fee schedule to better serve the needs of the community through the program fees that help fund. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3560-2023 to authorize the appropriation and expenditure of $400,000 from the 2024 home administration monies within the Home Investment Partnership Program from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to the Department of Development to provide funding for personnel expenses in the Department of Development's Housing Division for fiscal year 2024 and to declare an emergency. This ordinance authorizes the appropriation of $400,000 from the anticipated 2024 Home Investment Partnerships Program to fund some of the Department of Development's Housing Division's 2024 personnel costs. Additional ordinances may be forthcoming later in 2024 to appropriate the balance of the Home Administration Grant Funds and/or 2023 program income available for personnel expenses for the remainder of the year once the 2024 grant amount is known. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Seeing none, I'd move for passage.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Thank you. May I move on to Health and Human Services? Next, we have ordinance 3432-2023 to authorize and direct the Board of Health to accept the grant service contract from the Alcohol, Drug, and Mental Health Board of Franklin County in the amount of $1,854,955.81 to authorize the appropriation of $2,254,955.81, which includes program revenues to the Health Department in the Health Department Grants Fund and to declare an emergency. Columbus Public Health has been awarded the 2024 Adam H. Grant Service Contract for Alcohol and Drug Services and Neighborhood Social Services Divisions to the following projects: outpatient treatment, women's recovery treatment, prevention block grants, grief counseling, and gun violence. The Alcohol and Drug Services Prevention Program will serve clients who may receive multiple services through Columbus City Schools, after-school summer programs, Latina prevention programming, HIV early intervention sites, parenting classes, and recreation centers. Adults and family members will be served as well as children and adolescents through youth programming. 70% of the population to be served are men and 30% are women. A portion of the funds from this grant will be utilized to purchase food and beverages for client treatment and prevention groups throughout the year. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least is ordinance 3549-2023 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a subrecipient agreement not-for-profit service contract with Community Shelter Board in an amount not to exceed $1.2 million for the purpose of supporting winter warming services, to authorize an appropriation and expenditure of $600,000 within the Neighborhood Initiative subfunds, to authorize the expenditure of $600,000 from the American Rescue Plan Act, to authorize the reimbursement of non-food and non-beverage expenditures incurred prior to the approval of the purchase order, and to declare an emergency. In 2021, we heard devastating stories of our residents facing homelessness, staying outside in dangerously low temperatures. We knew this was simply unacceptable. Every Columbus resident deserves dignity and access to a warm space. Last year, we knew we had to do something different. So our teams, in addition to the Department of Development and key community partners, embarked on a plan to create a winter warming plan. It was a pilot program aimed to ensure that no one experiencing homelessness lost their lives or limbs. While it may not have gone perfectly, we learned from it and grew from it. This year, our partners at the Community Shelter Board have worked to put together a plan to continue that mission and ensure our residents experiencing homelessness who may not want to go into a traditional shelter have a safe and warm place to lay their head down at night. This legislation authorizes the Director of Development to enter into a subrecipient agreement, not-for-profit service contract with Community Shelter Board. Services and plans will include, but not be limited to, the following three components: daytime warming centers, overnight shelter, and extreme cold events. I would like to thank our new president and CEO of the Community Shelter Board, Shannon Isom, who was here earlier today and was going to bring some remarks for her work and for all of her staff for really joining arms to get us to this point. I will also end by saying that I firmly believe that the future of our city truly does depend on ensuring all residents have the means and opportunity to find safe and stable housing without financial constraints and barriers. And while residents are in the process of finding housing, they also deserve to be treated with respect and with dignity. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Seeing none, I'd move for passage.
Second. Please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Thank you. That's all I have in my committees.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Public Safety Committee, chaired by Councilman Remy. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Council President. Tonight I have Ordinance 2766, 2023, to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Safety to enter into contract with Crowd and Conflict Management Limited and The Ohio State University in a collaboration to implement a science-led approach to policing called Project Legacy, to authorize the transfer of funds within the general fund from the citywide account to the Department of Public Safety, to authorize the expenditure of $217,145.20 from the general fund and $175,000 from the general government fund, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Codes and to declare an emergency. Comprising the phases of Enable, Unveil, and Fortify, Project Legacy aims to reshape policing paradigms through comprehensive knowledge, co-production strategies, partnerships, and impact. To speak just a little bit more about this, I'm going to throw it over to the director and ask her to also comment on the waiver of competitive bidding. Director Pashati, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Council President Harden, Councilmember Remy. This is a second phase of the work that we started in July of 2023 with Dr. Clifford Stott from Keele University. It will continue to build on the research insights and continue to move CPD's dialogue team forward. The second portion of the model involves the deployment of specialized dialogue officers and will continue with the public order and public safety graded tactical model. If there are no further questions, I appreciate the support.
Thank you very much, Director. Are there any comments or questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Next, I have Ordinance 3269, 2023, to authorize and direct the city auditor to transfer $647,330 between projects within the Safety Bond Fund, to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget, to waive the competitive bidding and sale of surplus provisions of the Columbus City Codes, to authorize the Finance Management Director to enter into a contract with and issue a purchase order to Atlantic Emergency Solutions for the purchase of 5 ambulances in the amount of $647,330, to authorize the expenditure of $647,330 from the Safety Voted Bond Fund, and to declare an emergency. Director, can you speak to the waiver of competitive bidding on this particular one, please?
Yeah, Council President Harden, Chair Remy, there was actually bid out originally. There were 2 vendors who submitted bids. The first, Pencare, was non-responsive for failing to meet bid specs. The second, AES, which is on tonight, met all the specifications of the bid. However, they included an expiration date on their quote that did not comply with purchasing's terms and conditions, and their bid was deemed non-responsive as well. Given the fact the bid submitted by AES did meet all the other specifications despite making a non-price error in their submission, Fire, along with purchasing, decided to award the bid to AES due to the length of time it would be to rebid and the immediate necessity for the vehicles. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Director. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Next, I have Ordinance 3270, 2023, to authorize and direct the city auditor to transfer $1,512,944 within the Safety General Obligation Fund to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget, to authorize the Finance and Management Director on behalf of the Department of Public Safety to enter into contracts with the issue a purchase order to Horton Emergency Vehicles for the purchase of 4 EMS transport vehicles in the amount of $1,512,944 $1,512,944, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Codes, to authorize the expenditure of $1,512,944 from the Safety General Obligation Bond Fund, and to declare an emergency. Again, Director, could you speak to the waiver of competitive bidding on this particular piece of legislation?
Council President Harden, Chair Remy, a bid waiver is requested as the Division of Fire has standardized its custom EMS response apparatus fleet with Horton emergency vehicles. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Next is ordinance 3387, 2023, to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to issue a purchase order for the purchase of conducted electrical weapons and maintenance with Axon Enterprise, Inc. for the Division of Police from Universal Term Contract, to authorize the expenditure of $3 million from the general fund and to declare an emergency. This is about tasers, and so I'm going to throw this over to the Director to talk a little bit more about this.
Council President Harden, Chair Remy, our current Columbus PD taser platform is over 10 years old. In addition, the majority of the tasers are beyond their useful life and need to be removed from service. This purchase will replace and upgrade all tasers within the division, which is approximately 1,500 tasers. This new taser, when taken off safety, turns on and automatically activates all Axon body-worn cameras in a 30-foot radius. Additionally, all the data from TASER, including deployments, testing, and firing logs, are tracked and stored within the Axon ecosystem and accessible through evidence.com. Thank you.
I appreciate the transparency that this will bring to the division. So, are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Council President, may I return to first reading on page 8?
Please.
We will go back to page 8 for ordinance 3363, 2023, to authorize and direct the Finance and Management Director to return to Jessica Owens a police horse with the registered name of Sam, which has no further value to the Division of Police, and to waive the provisions of City Codes, sale of city-owned personal property. Sam, a police horse that has been in service with the Division of Police's mounted unit for 4.5 years, needs to be returned to its previous owner. Sam has had 3 incidents when he took off. When he took off. I'm not going to get through this. When he took off unprovoked at events with high energy atmospheres, it would be in the best interest of the division to take Sam out of service and return him to the previous owner, who donated the horse to the Division of Police. It is recommended that Sam be returned to the original owner, Jessica Owens, who donated the horse to the Division of Police and who has the resources to properly care for Sam. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Nay.
Oh, my gosh.
First, I move to waive second reading.
Is there a second? We got to get the, yes. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Wait.
And next, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you very much, Council President. With your permission, may I return to the second reading in the Environment Committee?
Please.
In Environment, this evening I have ordinance 3452, 2023, to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Service to enter into a contract with Nexstar Media, Inc. for marketing campaign services for the Cleaner Columbus Initiative, to authorize an appropriation expenditure within the Neighborhood Initiative Subfund, to waive the competitive bidding requirements of the Columbus City Code, and to declare an emergency. Cleaner Columbus is a continuing community-wide education and marketing campaign on the importance of litter eradication and neighborhood beautification. Cleaner Columbus, in partnership with Nexstar Media, will develop a wider message platform and provide resources to reach inclusive demographics within Columbus, including a special focus on K-12 and opportunity neighborhoods. High-impact marketing and public education messaging will be developed for targeted audiences, including Columbus residents, neighborhood leaders, professional associations, businesses, and employee groups. City Council's goal is to incorporate its Cleaner Columbus educational messaging and mascot with the Keep Columbus Beautiful's Pick It Up and Design Challenge and service programs. This is a a program that I had started back in 2019. We're super excited to continue this work. The messaging is resonating. People are getting involved, and we're working very hard to make sure that our streets are clean. And so I appreciate the support of my colleagues on this particular piece of legislation. Are there any questions or comments this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
And that is all I have in environment. And with your permission, I'll move on to administration. Tonight I have ordinance 3527, 2023, to authorize the Director of the Office of Diversity and Inclusion to enter into a not-for-profit service contract with the YWCA Columbus to conduct a community stakeholder engagement process and develop a race equity plan for the City of Columbus, to authorize the appropriation of expenditure of $150,000 in the Neighborhood Initiative Subfund, and to declare an emergency. This legislation is sponsored by my colleague, Councilmember Favor, and I'd like to turn it over to her for a few comments. Councilmember.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Remby, for allowing me to co-sponsor this legislation with you. It's incredibly important as we continue to really unpack what it means for not only public health to be, for racism to be a public health crisis, but to also unpack certain issues like Councilmember Dorans elevated today around the need for such mechanisms like an opportunity port. We talk a lot about housing and the institutionalized racism that is baked into some of those efforts. And so what you have here today is an opportunity for us to begin to do some of that work internally as an administration, as a legislative body. So we're excited to have this be on the agenda tonight. I'm not sure if I put you on the spot, if our Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion would want to pop up really quick. Director Jenkins.
Thank you, Councilmember Favor, Councilmember Remy, President Harden, and council members. This work aligns with what we've been moving forward with our agenda as it relates to the work we're doing with the Department of Finance and all the rest of our departments. So looking forward to this work. It's external to the residents, so we're really looking to get involved in the community and engaging the community around racial wealth equity. Thank you.
Thank you, Director, and thank you, Councilmember Remy.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Favor. Are there any other questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
And that is all I have in administration. Council President, may I move on to Rules and Reference Committee? In the Rules and Reference, I have Ordinance 1374, 2022, to amend Section 2329.11 of the Columbus City Codes pertaining to community noise to include certain prohibitions of unreasonably loud and raucous noise from non-residential properties, to allow the Department of Building and Zoning Services to enforce provisions, and to include a civil penalty option as an available remedy, and to repeal existing codes 2329.11. To begin, I'd like to take a moment to explain how we got to the amendments this evening. In November of 2022, we originally held a joint public hearing with Council President Pro Tem Rob Dorans to hear from the community regarding noise and mobile food vendors. At that time, we decided to split up the work into different phases, as both areas of code and legislation are complex. We spent many months researching, discussing, holding meetings, and reviewing draft code amendments for mobile food vending, and ended up with code amendments passed this spring with implementation in May. Tonight, we are amending the community noise section of the city code. These amendments are a result of months of engagement with our residents and businesses in collaboration between council, the city attorney's office, the Department of Public Safety, and Building and Zoning Services. We have held 2 public hearings in the past 6 months on the noise code, and I highly recommend any interested residents to view these hearings on City of Columbus YouTube page or the council Facebook page. We heard our residents when they shared time and time again that excessive noise was impacting their quality of life. We believe that the amendments before us today will improve the health and well-being of our community and support our residents at home while our city experiences much-deserved growth and mixed-use development. The core of these amendments prohibit the operation of any sound amplification system, auditory device, or stationary sound source from a non-residential property that is audible at the property line of a residential unit 100 feet from the property line of said non-residential property between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. Notably, this legislation also introduces the Department of Building and Zoning Services as an enforcement arm and outlines a civil penalty option for commercial property owners. Together, these changes aim to free up police resources for high-priority crimes and streamline enforcement. We're excited to see these changes made in Building and Zoning Services to take on the responsibilities here. Lastly, I'd like to note that this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced on March 1st, 2024, to allow time for city departments to prepare to enforce these provisions. Lots of thanks to go around for all the work that's been put into this, but I specifically want to thank John Oswald, Senior Legislative Research Analyst with our Legislative Research Department, for the mountains of time and effort that he put into this to get us where we were today. There were a lot of complicating factors that rise up when you're talking about this throughout the course of trying to legislate changes of this magnitude. And so it is not without notice that we have put an inordinate amount of time, specifically John Oswald, but I'd like to thank my team, Avery and Townsend and Kaylin Pittman, for their work in getting us here today. Do I have any comments from or anything that my colleagues would like to mention about this? Seeing none, I move for passage. Seeing none, I first move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Bankston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Second, I move for passage as amended.
Bankston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed. Thank you very much. That is all I have this evening. Happy holidays.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the final committee to come before council is the Finance Committee. And tonight we have Ordinance 3315-2023 to authorize the Director of the Department of Finance and Management to negotiate and enter into contract for energy supply to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Codes, to authorize the expenditure of $1 from the general fund and declare an emergency. This is a routine ordinance that allows the city to use an energy broker called Toyota Energy to conduct a competitive process between providers to get the best price we can for electricity for the next 18 months to power city facilities like streetlights and buildings. It's not a formal request for proposal because prices fluctuate daily and we need flexibility to lock in a low rate quickly, but it is a competitive process that solicits bids from multiple parties. This ordinance requires the city to price out multiple types of energy, including clean energy, and report back to council on what they find, so that we're always learning from the dynamic state of the market as we lean on our climate goals as a city. Where we can't afford to purchase renewable directly, we purchase renewable energy credits, or RECs, RECs, to offset our carbon footprint. I'm going to ask our Finance Department representative, Mr. Robin, if he had any additional comments.
Thank you, President Harden, President Pro Tem Dorans, members of council. You covered a lot, but the department actively procures for competitive electricity supply rates for use in all the city facilities. This competitive process provides considerable cost savings over standard retail rates and also allows for the purchase of green power. The current energy supply contract expires in May of '24, and this ordinance authorizes the finance director to procure for energy supply for the new 18-month contract term beginning June 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Here, I move for passage. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Moving on to the Rules of Reference Committee, we have two ordinances. The first is Ordinance 3267-2023. It's to amend Columbus City Code Section 362.013 in order to allow the deposit of proceeds received from 25% of the city's existing municipal income tax to a sub-fund of the general fund, and to clarify the allowable uses for such monies, and to authorize Fund 4430 to be renamed as our Debt Retirement Fund, to repeal Ordinance 1974-2011, and to declare an emergency. The city's rigorous practices regarding the special income tax are a major reason why we enjoy such a strong bond rating, and we don't make changes to those practices lightly. These minor tweaks are the outcome of a routine state audit that suggested ways to further tighten up our procedures, and they are the product of months of consultation between the city auditor and the Department of Finance. Before I move for passage, I want to invite again Mr. Robbins or also Auditor Kilgore to say a few words on this. There's a lot of work done between the administration and the auditor's office.
President Harden, President Pro Tem Dorns, members of council, the 25% income tax set aside is used to fund the city's non-enterprise capital projects. Currently, the set aside is deposited into the special income tax fund. This fund is used to pay for capital eligible projects as well as the principal and interest on bonds issued for the capital improvement budget. In order to provide more accurate accounting and reporting for these set-aside funds, the 25% income tax set-aside will now be deposited into a sub-fund of the general fund, and the special income tax fund will be renamed the Debt Retirement Fund. Transfers will occur from the set-aside sub-funds to the new Debt Retirement Fund to fund the city's annual debt program. This will provide more transparency in regards to the amount of debt financed annually out of the Debt Retirement Fund. All city policies regarding the use of the 25% set-aside fund will remain, and the amendment to the code will ensure the sound fiscal management of these funds continues. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Auditor.
Certainly, and Council President Hart and members of council, Mr. Robbins provided a very good summary, and I would simply acknowledge that this is largely updating for our times, and that all of our relevant policies, the 25 cents being set aside, as well as our internal debt policies in terms of our debt coverage, revenues, our 1.5 times over expenditures remain the same. Thank you, sir.
Thank you again, and thank you for all the hard work. And again, we do not make these changes lightly, and we don't do them often. So I appreciate all that's gone into it. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Here now, I move for passage. Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass. And finally, I have ordinance 3546-2023. It's to repeal sections 2329.15 and 2329.16 of the Columbus City Codes to bring the city into compliance with state law after the passage of Issue 2 and to declare an emergency. With the state's recent passage of Issue 2, Council is taking action to ensure that our city code does not conflict with new state laws. This ordinance repeals 2 sections of our city code that are currently incompatible with the new state law that deal with weed possession. We know that the State House is considering messing with the law, and if it changes, we as a city will respond. But we felt it was important for now as a city that we immediately get into compliance with the current statute because we respect the will of the voters. I'd like to invite Council Members Barosa de Padilla to share a few words if you like.
I was just going to say, I was just having a conversation this evening with the news just about this ordinance and what it means for our residents. This is, while it's a small change, it is again demonstrating this council's commitment to our communities, this council ensuring that we are living our values, that we deprioritized charges and penalties around marijuana, and we are ready to once again demonstrate our values once our state legislature decides what they want to do, ensuring that we are bringing justice to our communities, especially when I think about folks like our veterans, when I think about folks with chronic illness that need, that use these drugs for medicinal purposes, whether it be physical or mental issues or their mental health. But this again ensures that as a city, we are getting ourselves ready to be in line with what the voters in Ohio voted for issue 2, but then ensuring that we are ready to create policies that puts our people at the center of those policies. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments from my colleagues? Here now, I move for passage. Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed. Everyone have a great holiday. Thank you all for the hard work this year, and we look forward to seeing you in our new and improved and bigger council in a few weeks.